彼の残した言葉の中にもあるんですが、いい写真を撮るための最初の条件、これはカメラを持っていることだと。彼が一番思考していたのは、多くの人にいかに写真を撮ってもらうか。
1960年代に前谷さんというオリンパスの技術者がいましてね。
カメラが当時はまだ高級品なので、前谷さんをはじめとする開発の方々が多くの人に使ってもらうにはどうしたらいいかって考えた中で、カメラ自体をもっと安く作りたい。
当時6000円で作れないかっていうふうにできたカメラです。
そして当時高かったフィルム代、現像代を少しでも負担を減らしたい。そうしたらハーフサイズのカメラを作ろう。そうすると倍撮れるのですごく経済的です。
で35ミリカメラの24枚だと48枚撮れます。それが非常に画期的だということで、使われた。ペンが出た時にオリンパスを持って家族写真を撮ったりなんかする人が非常にいましたですね。
主にプロを中心として使う機材が変わってきていた。なるべくいいものを作ろうと各社していて、どうしても大きくなってしまっている。その中で前谷はやっぱりプロが本当に求めるものってそういうことなのかっていうことに疑問を感じて、その中で生まれたのが OM1 だと考えています。
結局彼がこれ集大成なんですね。やっぱりかなり命が吹き込まれたカメラではないかなっていうふうに僕は思います。
When I got into the newspaper business, it was just coming off the time when 2.25 was kind of the equipment preferred. The guy that hired me came from the speed graphic day, the 4x5. As technology progressed, all of a sudden it was accepted that 35 millimeter was great for newspaper work. It's not as physically imposing as a larger camera. The more I become invisible, the more I can become part of the scene, the more the photographic opportunities present themselves to me. The camera, it becomes a productive tool. It's there for a purpose. Maitani realized that, and that drove the original design of the OM. When you put it in your hand, everything was where you wanted it to be. The aperture is right here. My two front fingers take care of that. Other fingers fall back to the shutter speed. It's an enabler, it's a conduit, not an interference between you and what's happening.
1996年にオリンパスは最初の民生品のデジタルカメラを出したわけですけれども、フィルムであろうとデジタルであろうとないものを作るというのは全社共通で今でも一番ベーシックなところに流れているのではないかなと考えます。
デザインを検討するときにスケッチを書いて最初検討して、その次にですね 3D データを入れてからこのようなラフな削りのモデルを作ります。でこれをベースにボタンの位置が適切であるかとか、あるいはグリップ性能はこれでいいかとかっていうのを検討していくんですけれども、我々が一番に考えていることはやはり使われる方、ユーザーのことです。
There's certainly an emotional connection with your camera. As soon as you pick it up, you know, you have a feeling. It's the design, it's how it looks, and it's how it's going to support you in achieving the image that you want to capture. Size and portability and mobility in photography is a message that we've been talking about for decades. The philosophy of the Olympus cameras is being able to shoot everywhere. We had a photographer go to Antarctica, and obviously you've got crazy low temperatures there. We created technology that enables them to do that. If you were that customer, what would the end solution be that you would want? It's important to always be thinking about what do people need, what are they going to need, what's the future going to be, and to aspire to deliver that.
災害に遭われた方が取り戻したいものの最も大事なものの一つがやっぱ写真なんですね。それって単なる現像された紙ではなくて、その当時の家族の思い出がやはりそこに残っているってみんなが思うので、思い出を取り戻したいという気持ちがあると思うんです。つまり写真にはそれだけの力があると 思っています。
I've got a photograph of our son. I think he was a year old. It's got the catch light in his eyes. Wonderful moment of him getting ready to tap the glass. It's not a great photograph, but it's a great moment. Wow, look at that. I remember that. Oh, look at this. You know, raising your kids, the pains and the struggle and the exhaustion and the joys and all these things that occur. What a wonderful confirmation it is of you as a human. This is who we are and who we were.
今でもそのものを作るにあたってはお客様の声というのをすごく大事にしています。舞谷が残した言葉の一つに、我々はカメラを開発提供しているんではなくて、カメラを通じて人々が幸せになることを提供しているんだっていう言葉があります。ないから作る、その精神というのを日々実現しようと、これこそが社会に対するオリンパスの役割だと思っています。
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee Time with me, Jimmy Cheng. If you don't know who I am, I just said my name actually. Yes, I'm also a professional photographer, filmmaker, and also an Olympus ambassador. But today we're gonna talk about something I would say rather generic and also maybe a little bit more educational, because I know that price is always one of the biggest holding factor for anyone who wants to get into this hobby or profession, right? You know, so I think it's worth chatting about it. So let's get on with it. But before I do that, of course, I already seeing some regular here already kind of busy typing away, you know, saying hi to everyone, and I also see some new people here. So welcome for those who who's the first time here on my live stream, especially in this channel, Red 35. Welcome to you, and this is one big happy gentle family here. We love what we do, which is photography and creative stuff, right? So this is why we're here. Fantastic. So just say hi to some people that haven't already been already typed. So I think I saw Paul from Canada. Hi Paul. Hi Seraphine. Volume's too low, right? I'm going to see a comment here, right? Let me just adjust it a little bit, so hopefully it will be a little bit better. Let me see if it's good. Better. It's already maximum. Are you hearing this okay? Can you just confirm that my audio is okay before I change anything else? I'm just waiting for some comment. If the audio is okay before I continue my conversation. Obviously, I do want you to hear what I'm saying. Mark will also see that my. Oh right, okay. I do see some technical thing here, which is my it's a little bit jittery. So maybe it's actually my connection here. So let me stay on this here, and then let me switch off the camera and switch it back on. Hopefully it's going to be okay. So just let me see. Right. Okay, now I'm back on, and hopefully you can hear me good. So is it all right now? Is it better? Let me know. I'm just waiting for some comment. It's fine. Right, Paul say it's fine. It's quiet. It's strange because it's my normal setup, so I haven't changed anything. It's actually I'm using a boom mic at the moment, so maybe I'll bring it a little bit closer. You might see that little thing starting to come down from my screen. Okay, it should be fine. Right, let me bring it a little bit closer, which is a bit weird now. You can see the thing now sticking from my top of the screen. Oh, anyway, so. And HDMI open in the monitor mode is not. That is why. Right. Okay. Let me change that. Okay. Let me just that. You're right there. You're right. I need to change that to. All right. Whew. All done. So is it good? Is it better now? Hopefully it's better. And let me just now I have to change the mic back now because I really hate that thing sticking up at the top of the screen. And now my picture looks definitely a lot flatter as well. So let me just correct that a little bit, and because I do like my picture look a little bit better, so add a little bit of gamma here, a little bit more saturation, because I am using flat profile, as you can see. Right, okay, cool. Sounds fixed, everything's fixed, so we can continue our conversation today. Whew, my God. Thank you for reminding me about the monitor mode, because I did see the battery icon, which is kind of like hidden away behind that my social stuff up here. But thank you for correcting that, and now I am better already. Whew, good stuff. See, this is live stream. Anything can happen, right? You know, and I have full batteries. That means I can last as long as you guys want me to be here. So let's talk about prices, right? And I know that photography has always been expensive, no matter how you look at it. You can easily think that oh yeah, I can get secondhand, I can get used cameras, I can get entry level cameras, I can get that. But regardless, you know, they are expensive to people at different levels. You know, like let's say if I'm a student, for instance, you know, the entry level may seem cheap to a lot of the people who are working, earning money already, but they are still expensive to people who just don't earn any money at all. You know, they have to relying on maybe parents buying them for presents or anything like that. So it's always expensive. You look at just a little chunk of metal, you know, or plastic, you know, nowadays, and then a little camera can cost you like $400, which, you know, to most professional or amateurs, you know, they're nothing. These are entry stuff, right? But for people who don't earn anything, $300 is a lot of money. So I would always say that, you know, they are quite expensive, but at the same time, you know, and I want use this opportunity to kind of highlight to you guys that if you this is photography as a hobby. If it's something that you want to get serious with, you know, and you should think it as an investment, right? And also thinking that when you should be investing, when you should be spending, which are two different words here, spending and investing, which is totally separate thing. And I just want people to understand where I'm coming from, and also like kind of learn from me as a some guy who experienced all this, you know, since I was a teenager, because who doesn't want the best stuff, right? You know, but these days kids are a lot more luxuries. You know, they are more. I think they're lucky in a way that they have a lot of stuff going on, and like smartphone. Every kid's got smartphones now. Every kid's got iPads and stuff like that. But in my days, you know, and I didn't. You know, my family weren't very well off, so I didn't have a lot of good stuff, and I always obviously a little bit envy of some of the kids who have richer parents, and they always buy them like the best stuff. But in my day, it was still quite simple. You know, like we don't have a lot of electronic gadgets that we have nowadays. Photography weren't even kind of in the radar, because people don't do photography in teenagers. You know, in my years, the most teenagers, you know, during my days were only talking about being a footballers, you know, basketball athletes. You know, they play video games, but video games in the arcade, not even at home. And so it's a very different landscape altogether. It's only like until I would say 15 years ago when digital photography becoming a big thing, and then they're starting to think that as a potential hobby, and more and more people got exposed to photography, especially after the smartphone, you know, has becoming such a big thing, and everybody's starting to take photographs, and they're starting to expose to photography, and now for people who, you know, use smartphones as a starting point, and now they want to get serious about what they can capture, what they can do about photography and images, and they're getting more serious, and they buy better cameras. But there's nothing like that in my old days, so I can't really use mine as a reference. However, when I did eventually get to uni days, and then that's when I starting to get into photography, and at that point, photography does starting to become a more bigger thing, and more amateurs and more people are starting to use cameras to be one of their hobbies. And at that point, you know, I still remember, I kind of mentioned that in my last stream, is that I really remember in my second year in university, and I went on to a road trip with my friends from uni. So we drove all around the UK. We went to Wales and drove all the way up to Scotland through Blackpool, and then come all the way back down to London. And there was four of us. Three of them, I mean, they all have big cameras. They have SLRs. All I had was a 35mm, very cheap. I wouldn't say cheap, but like kind of average point and shoot Pentax camera, and it was a very simple thing. There's no menu, no exposure compensation. It's a very simple point and shoot camera, and but that was all I needed, at the time, and as a guy who just traveled, just wanted some snaps for memory, and that's all I needed. But after that trip, and I'm starting to realize that photography can be something really good, and like Robin Wong always say, shutter therapy, it's quite good, when you kind of at a location, setting up your cameras and starting to look at the scene, admiring it, and you want to capture that, right? Not just the random snaps here and there, which is what I was doing when I was a teenager with my point and shoot camera. And I saw these guys here, they set up their tripod, they put their SLR there, and starting to have that patience, looking for the right lights and stuff like that. So in a way, I got inspired by these guys. And by the way, none of them are actually photographers now. They're just kind of interested in it at the time, and they're engineers and lawyers and stuff like that. I am actually the opposite. I started as an engineer consultant, and I worked in the industry for so many years before I became a photographer. So you kind of work completely opposite, after like 20-30 years, and then we do completely separate, opposite things now. And now I'm actually full-time in photography and in the creative industry. They are now doing their 9 to 5, sitting on a desk and doing their own thing. I'm pretty sure they're still interested in photography in one way or the other, but nowhere near the level that I'm in now. So it's quite interesting. But anyway, go back to the story about spending. So after that inspiration, and how I would put it, after the inspiration, I saw the photos when after the trip. Yeah, remember those were the film days. Yeah, and so like after the trip, we spent 2 to 3 weeks waiting for the picture to come back. So at that point, and we got together and then looked at each other's photos and stuff. And I was amazed. I would say that their photos are brilliant nowadays if I look back on what they are. And but at that moment in time, I realized how much more creativity you can pump into that particular craft using a better camera. So I was inspired, and I thought to myself, okay, that looks fun. I was there, and I saw them how they operate the camera, and saw these, the whole process of creating those photographs. I thought that was cool. I wanted to get into it just to see, whether it is for me. And so I didn't have any money, as most uni students would do, so I went on to do a part-time job to earn some money so I can get a camera. So I went on to being a cab driver. Not many of you know, so I'm telling you right now, I was a cab driver for one summer, and it was fun, and it was actually quite good money at the time. So I earned enough money to get myself a camera, and so I bought my very first SLR camera, and a whole bunch of films and stuff. Obviously, I can't afford the top pro level camera, but I did get a kind of like a EM5 kind of equivalent cameras, which is actually a lot of money for a student. Brand new. I bought it brand new. And but I ignore everything else. I just bought it because I thought that camera could make me a better photographer, because I saw these people, right? Their photographs are better than my photo, where they're using a point and shoot camera, so it must be the camera. So I was being a bit naive, a bit like, just don't know what's going on kind of thing. And but anyway, so I got my SLR, load up my films, and then the next time when we went out to another kind of road trip thing again, I took my SLR and started shooting around. And then I realized that I didn't get any good shots either. The shots are more or less the same as my point and shoot camera, and only because my skill wasn't there. I didn't know anything about composition. I didn't know anything about reading the lights. I didn't know anything about the exposure triangle. Some shots were underexposed because I tried to be creative, right? Just to mess around the aperture priority, the shutter speed menu, even, things like that. Things were a little bit more complicated back in the film days. You don't have ISO. You are fixed with the film speed that you put into the camera. So I messed up quite a few rolls of films, and right at the beginning, it's kind of like a funny story because I hated it and then because I wasted so much money. You know, imagine I told you I wasn't rich in by any means, so I got the camera. I kind of spent all my money for the camera, and I don't have any money left for anything else. So all I had was the kit lens, the DSLR, and a few rolls of film. But that's kind of my very first exposure into proper photography. It was a complete disaster. So that's my example. That's why I think that. Expensive. It is expensive, but at the time I didn't know how to invest in photography, and I shouldn't be doing what I did. I should have got a really dirt cheap camera, whether it's secondhand. You know, like most people suggested, I should have used my budget, calculated it, and thinking that what I should do if I want to get into photography and learn about photography within that budget. So ultimately, you really should set up a figure in your mind, you know, what sort of thing I should be doing with that sum of money and get me to that next level before I invest again. So like this, you have to think about in like, this is more like a few stages in a way. Especially in beginner, it's quite easy. It's really quite easy, especially consumerism. You know, we're all consumers. Don't we all want the latest and the greatest stuff that's basically available in the market, right? You know, if I have $5,000 to spend, don't I want to get the $4,500 camera body that's just announced yesterday? Do you want to do that though? You know, there are a lot more things you have to think about. If you don't have any experience in photography, you don't know that you need to get a better lens. You don't need to know you have to get camera bag to store your kit, right? You don't have to think about other things that you may need: memory card, batteries, all the other stuff. There are a lot of variables that people may have overlooked. You know, they don't know that they need it until they finally use the cameras, and in the field they say, oh, I need this, I need that. So I always suggest a lot of people, you know, when they look at photography as a hobby, let's talk about hobby, not about professional. Yeah, you know, just be careful not to overstretch yourself. To always think about how much can you afford. You know, in like I said, also in many videos that I've done before, as of 2015, you know, I'm talking about 2015, 6 years ago now, I haven't seen a single camera out on the market that can produce like rubbish. They can all produce really good image quality. I know you can say technically this can do that, you know, like 15 stop dynamic range, you know, 50 megapixels and stuff. Look, unless you know what those figures and what those number actually means, forget it. You know, like, you don't have to, you know, reading a few blog posts here and there, see some YouTube videos here and there does not mean anything unless you can realize that you can exploit all those pixels in your sensor for your photography. Then you can come back and say, okay, I understand. But in the meantime, if you're just getting into the craft, and you really have to be careful about that. And like I said, 2015, even if you pick up an EPL 8, yeah, back in the time, yeah, EPL 7, EPL 8, yeah, really entry-level cameras, you know, in the right hands, these cameras can still be as functional and as good as any modern digital high-end cameras. You know, you just need to know the craft, how to learn about maximizing what's available technologically in the camera. And image sensor these days, and I know people are talking about a lot dynamic range. You know, how many bits is there? There are a lot of technical elements there. But like I said, most people nowadays will share their images online. You know, whether it's through Facebook. Facebook's crap, by the way. You know, Facebook, you know, they compress the hell out of all your images. You know, you can't really see the actual detail of it. So people share it in Facebook. Instagram is worse. Instagram was like tiny little square on your screen. It means nothing. But this is what people do. Majority of people do. You know, like if you see like almost 90% of the traffic, image traffic on the internet, are either through Facebook or Instagram. Nothing else. And these are all heavily compressed, shrunk images on your screen. You know, like, so does that mean that having a 50 megapixel, 100 megapixel camera would give you would do you any favor? No, not at all, because the tiny little block on your phone screen for Instagram and those images that you see on Facebook, they are as good as what your screen can provide, which is usually at max 4K, maybe 5K on an iMac, but that's all you can get. 5K, what is that? 10 megapixels. So having a 50 megapixel is complete overkill, unless you start talking about croppings and stuff like that, which is another issue. I'm not going to talk about that today. So really isn't something that you should be thinking about is getting high megapixel count. That's first, because high megapixel usually means more money, and you'll be overspending it completely. And regardless what people tell you, the advantage of this and that, no. So don't spend all your money in getting a high megapixel count camera when you're first getting into photography, because it's complete bollocks and complete useless. And second, and it's the thinking about speed. Yeah, speed is another thing. I know people always talk about AF speed, right? And I can do this in 0.00001 second. I can grab focus on that. Oh, I can do 60 frames per second with CAF on. Whatever they can say. But again, many photographers that I teach, when in my workshops, a lot of them are like really beginners, and they thought, oh, do I need this to capture this and that? I said, look, my camera can do this. Use it and capture me running. And a lot of them came back with all blur images. You know why? Because human error. They don't know how to operate the cameras in the first place. So these are very specialist field. Capturing moving subject requires a lot of skills involved. You have to understand your subject. You have to understand movement. You have to understand the whole motions of tracking and things like that. So there's a lot of things going on there. Not just the camera say that they can do it, and you can keep, you can just capture everything is moving. And it's not as easy as that. I know the promo video might be really cool, when they have this super slow motion showing the photographer holding the long lens and starting to capture everything in perfect. And those are only promo videos. When you grab the camera trying to do the same shot, I guarantee most people will fail, because this is a lot about the skill itself for the photographer. But when you know how to operate the camera, yes, then you can do it. But I'm talking about beginner, right? So beginner don't know anything about cameras, photography. So like owning a fast camera don't get you anywhere either. So you don't need to get a super fast camera. You don't need to get 15 frames per second, 20 frames per second cameras. You don't need those. You don't need big buffer cameras. Nothing at all. Most people getting into photography starting out to usually do as travel, snapshots, landscape, maybe some macros and things like that. So something that is static, some quite easy. So people are looking these specs. It basically means nothing, and so people will be once again being kind of fooled by the marketing people saying that, oh, these are the selling points, because the job of the marketing people in different camera companies, they have one job to do, is to sell you the camera. So they have to make the camera as attractive as possible. And so when you hear these list of features there, and there's all these promo videos that you see, and without actually understanding what it means or how you can exploit those technologies and features, it really means nothing. So if you don't really understand or have ever used those features, please don't fall for those traps, because you will be wasting your money, wasting anything. But I'm not suggesting you don't do it. If you've got billions of dollars or pounds to spend, you are just ultra rich, then go ahead, buy whatever you think it satisfy you. At the end of the day, it's still a hobby, of course. You can buy whatever you can afford. But I'm just coming from my background, I wasn't rich, and when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. So if I look back now, I wouldn't have gone for the SLR that I bought at the time, because it's definitely too expensive for what I needed at the time. So I should have just went ahead to get a much cheaper camera, maybe even used camera, and get myself a better lens, maybe a few more photo books just to study what photography really is. I didn't get my first photo book, I'm telling you, or any sort of tutorial stuff, until 2 years after I got the SLR. That's how bad I was. And but it is what it is, it happened. And I mean, if you don't know me, I'm a self-taught photographer, so I taught everything myself. And but self-taught doesn't mean that you need a degree to be successful in the photographic industry. I haven't studied anything. I don't have a degree in photography or fine art or anything like that. And I still made it in the scene here. So I'm a professional. I've been shooting for last 16 years now. So it's possible. You just have to be very dedicated and also hardworking. Through a lot of hard work, you will be there. Trust me. So this is quite fun, right? And that's what I wanted to kind of bring up this subject about photography being expensive, and it depends really how you look at it. And you know, for most beginners, like I said, you know, you try not to overspend and overthink too much, you know, because ultimately what you need is a image capturing machine. If you strip away everything that I said, you just listen to the word that I said, image capturing machine. 3 words, you know, and what do you need for an image capturing machine? Nothing but a shutter, things that can move up and down, letting the light into the negative or sensors. And that really is it. So you don't need anything, oh, I have eye detection, I have face detection, I have this and that. No, those are cream. Those are the luxury features for the people who actually know how to use them. And if you go to a photography school, for instance, and in the UK at least, and you go to any photography school, they usually ask you to get an SLR, and they usually ask you to get a Pentax K1000 for some reasons. And but anyway, the K1000 is cool. It's a Pentax SLR old film days camera. The reason they ask you to get that camera is because it's the simplest camera you can get. There's no features there. This manual focus, pure mechanical shutter speed and aperture. That's it. Isn't that what that image capturing machine is? That is it. There is no autofocus. There is no CAF. There's no AI subject tracking. There's no Starry Sky AF Pro Capture. You know, the live bulb lights, whatever, anything that we are enjoying today. Because why? The photography school wants to learn the basic. They want you to understand the relationship of exposure triangle. They want you to learn about how a camera capture a photograph. You know, this is the essence of it. And so, you know, think about what I just said, you know, if you're a beginner. But even if you're an experienced guy, right? And I know a lot of people would think that, oh, the new camera just came out. Should I get a new camera? It's quite tempting, right? You know, imagine in my seat here, you know, I get exposed to new cameras a lot. You know, a lot, the new lenses, new cameras. I get tempted myself just to see them. Ooh, it's so tempting. I really want to grab some of those stuff. And but yeah, they're dear, they're expensive. You know, if I keep upgrading my camera, I would be bankrupt. And you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not ultra rich yet, and so I don't want to do that. Especially I run a business, which I'll come on to a bit later. You know, so even if you're an experienced photographer, and unless you got like a lot of money to spend and things like that, and yeah, just hold on to it. You know, can your current camera satisfy what you need? Remember, I talked about this before. Need and want are totally different thing, right? So remember that. So if your current camera can already satisfy you in terms of your requirements, you know what you need to do with your photography, and why change it? Why upgrade it? You know, you only upgrade it when it's maybe is reaching its end of life, or maybe you are doing something completely different that you need the new features, for instance. And so it's always gauging that. But in that case, you should better off invest your spare cash that you have on a newer, better lens, or maybe even going to a different, going to a photo trip, you know, going abroad. Not that you can do that at the moment, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yes, you can go away, maybe go to a different location, take some nicer photos, or use those budget to do something more constructive and maybe more fun, even, you know, for your photography, just to travel, right? And then now it goes to business. It's even more important, right? If you're a professional photographer making money from your photography, listen. You know, I know it's so easy for people to say, oh, upgrade this and upgrade that. And it's depending on the mileage of your cameras and how you use them on a daily basis, on yearly basis. I evaluate cameras to only my needs, and also more importantly, money, return on investment. This is very important there. The reason why I use Micro Four Third, right? First of all, you know, many people asked me before, why do you use Micro Four Third for professional stuff? Isn't it, you know, not professional? And I would say, what is professional in the camera world? What is professional? You know, do I need the full frame camera to be professional, or medium format? And no, I don't. I really don't think so. I don't really think so at all. Whoever can make money from a tool is a professional. Whether it's going to be a carpenter, whether it's going to be a guy fixing tires, if you've got a spanner, you using that tool to make your money, they are professional tool. So who cares what I use? And I use many cameras like before. I told you guys. I mean, I shoot Canon for 12 years. I shot Leica for 2 years. 12 years of Canon, 2 years for Leica, and before I moved to Micro Four Third and Olympus. So for me, I look at them as tools. I don't really see things that a lot of people and the consumer level sees. And I don't see them as the object of desire in a way, and I only see that whether it can make me money. And the best thing is the cheaper the better. Don't always the old business people want. You want to spend the least and also make the most money, right? And you really want that. And in that case, I can make more money. My profit margin is higher because I spend less, right, in the initial period. So when I looked at Micro Four Third, and especially when I looked at the E1 Mark II, for instance, and that's when I switched. So I told this story before. Obviously there are some new people here, so I can kind of repeat it a little bit. So I don't want to go overboard, but I dumped all my Canon gears after trying out the E1 Mark II, and I was impressed with the performance. And remember, I impressed with the performance. Like I mentioned, 2015. Remember, anything from 2015, I can say I can generate the same photograph with the same quality, regardless what platform, what camera they are. I can do the same thing. Yeah, for my needs. Yeah, I'm not speaking for everybody else in the photographic industry, because I can't. I'm not doing billboard. I'm not doing commercial photography. I'm doing portraits and location documentary stuff. So I don't need high megapixel count. So anyway, that's another thing. So anyway, so the E1 Mark II, I tried it and I loved it. And I loved the performance of it. I loved the image quality for what I need. And then I decided to give it a go. Yeah. And then when I sold all my 10, 12 years old battered a Canon system, like they all literally really used condition, I took it to a camera store to basically sell them all off, and because I needed the money to buy the Olympus, and then the money I got was crap, from what I invested in Canon, and I invested like a lot of money for Canon. You can imagine full frame stuff, yeah, full frame, expensive. So I invested a lot of money there, but you probably get about a fifth, maybe 20%, 25% of what I pay for those equipment, when you sell them, and so I got a pot of money. But guess what? Using that pot of money, like 20-30% of the equivalent cost of my full frame equipment brand new, I was able to buy myself literally the whole replacement kit in Micro Four Third, brand new. Imagine that. So like, this is really something, right? And I thought initially, I didn't think about price at the time. I thought, oh, maybe I would have to, pay a little bit more money, top it out, just to get a whole system, in Olympus. But no, I only had to spend an extra £500 or something to get everything brand new, including a bag that Olympus gave me. Thank you, Olympus. And, but anyway, so but I get a whole kit for less money. But this is important as a business, because I spend less. And imagine, subsequently, all the upgrades and everything that I did is also less money compared to full frame. And that's true, because well, first of all, lenses are usually last a long time, because a lot of the lenses that I use now is actually the same lens that I used when I first switched over 4 years ago. Lenses I rarely upgrade, because when you get the pro lens, they last you forever, almost last forever. And so I usually spend all those money on proper glass first. I just buy all those nice lenses, and then the body. But the body wise, I usually get the pro bodies, because I need the ruggedness, I need the weather seal for my location jobs, and in terms of mileage, I think in general, even in my Canon days, and I have to replace my camera around about 2 years time, because the every shutter has a life, right? I'm not sure anybody familiar with it, and whether it's Canon, Nikon, whatever. As long as there is a mechanical shutter there's a life, which is it could run out, it could die after 2,000 or 200,000 or 250,000 clicks, and you basically would just explode. No, just joking, not explode, but it would just die. So I don't want to go to that stage until it die and then just suddenly stop working when I'm halfway through the job. Yes, I don't do that. So every 2 years, 2.5 years, I would basically replace my camera, and just to keep myself fresh, my camera fresh, so I can continue my jobs without any interruptions. So this is usually me as a business. So you can imagine every 2.5 years I replace my camera, and depending how much the camera costs. And my EM1 series, the EM1 Mark II lasted me 3 years, so it's a bit longer than usual. So 3 years, and I switched over to the EM1X, which I'm using right now. And then last year I got the EM1 Mark III. I bought this camera because I need it for the business, right? And but in terms of like my personal cameras are easy. My Pen F is my personal camera, and that camera's been 4 years old. Personal stuff I don't change a lot. I don't change frequently either. Like the Pen F has been with me for the last 4 years, been shooting with it, and whenever I go out, because I like the compact size of it, I like the nature of it as a camera, and nothing more than that. But for any professional job, it's the EM1s. The EM1s always been my professional for filming and stills, and like I said, I do replace them every 2.5 years, 3 years, and just to keep the gear running. I don't want to stop as a business. So in that case, if I stuck with my Canon, I remember when I replaced my Canon cameras has increased their prices dramatically over the last 20 years. When I first got my 5D, it was £700, the first 5D when I bought it, and then the Mark II, it was £1,200, £1,200, so like £500 increase, and then the Mark III, £2,000, and the latest, or the last one, the Mark IV, is $3,000. So like, if I have to jump like this every 2.5 years, have to jump paying even more money to get a new replacement cameras, seriously, I would be bankrupt. But Olympus, on the other hand, is actually not too bad. We look at the EM1 Mark II when it first came out. It was £1,800. It was quite dear for Micro Four Third, but I thought still cheaper than the Canon, which is $3,000 at the time, and so 1,800, no problem. I paid that £1,800, but the price quickly dropped anyway in street price. And then the Mark III, when it came out last year, it was only retailing for actually lower than the Mark II that I paid. So it was like 1,400. So it's actually not bad for a pro cameras, and I think that it makes business sense for what I do, at least. And but like I said, I don't speak for everybody else. People may be using Canon throughout their entire working life, and that's I respect that. Don't get me wrong, I respect that. But I'm just speaking in my case, and for what I do, and it makes total financial sense. So for me, especially for Micro Four Third, and it's not expensive for business. It's actually cheap for business compared to other system. And but this is kind of like I've separated into different categories today. I speak about beginners in photography, regardless of brands, so don't overstretch yourself and get something that you don't need. And even if you're amateur, I think you should be spending more money on exploring the world of photography, or even go more traveling and take more nice pictures in different locations, than investing in an upgrade. But as a business, it's a total separate thing. You see how I talk about business, we're very different. I know I was talking specifically about Olympus because I'm using it as a case study, so as how I use it and how I see it as a value for money. But people has different requirements, and I respect that. I don't stop them. So I know people they would need some sort of professional stuff. They would need high megapixel count, and that means the 20 megapixel on Olympus system or any Micro Four Third just isn't sufficient. So I know people like that. So for those people, full frame is probably the way to go because they have high megapixel count cameras. Or likewise, if people who do paparazzi, they need to shoot ultra low lights a lot, and maybe a full frame will be a better choice because they can boost it up to like 500,000 ISO to get something there to sell to the news agents. They're all jobs, by the way. So choosing the right job, the right tool for the right job is very important in the professional world. Nothing to do with actual features. Remember, I haven't even spoken about features when I talk about business stuff, because for me, it's another 3 words: image capturing machine. It's still the same word because I use that to create my craft. Okay, cool. This is what I want to talk about today, and hopefully you guys would understand what I'm trying to, where I'm coming from, and what I'm trying to say. So let me see what your view is and how you think about photography, whether it's expensive for you, whether you agree some of the things that I said about like what you should be investing your money on, or don't waste your money on certain things. You can let me know either way, what you think about the whole money issue, because money is everything, and for me, money is hard, like you have to earn them, and you're not given the money, right? So you want to maximize whatever you invested in your hobby. So when I say hobby, it's not just about the camera or the lenses. It's the whole package. You have to take better photographs, you have to go to better places, you have to travel there, and all this involving money. And I saw some comment earlier about, like, film in the film days, film and development is also an element, and it's very true. Like, people think about, like, older cameras, and oh, I can get a film cameras for $50, and yes, you could give $50 for old SLR, and pretty cool. It's fully functional, it's image capturing machine, right? And but think about films. Film has gone up dramatically over the last 3-4 years. Like, now you get a consumer film, like one of those Fuji Superior 400, 800. They are 15-16 pound a roll. Oh my goodness. Back in my days, those would be like £2. They were cheap. 36 exposures, £2. You can get it from anywhere, from pharmacies and things like that. Now you are paying 15-16 pound a roll. God, I can't bear that. And then you have to pay for development. You go to high street lab to pay for what, £7-8, £10 for a roll of film to be developed, yeah, not even printed. So, like, if you want to print it, you have to pay a little bit more money, and gosh, so it is expensive. When you count that, film photography these days, I know it's kind of cool and nostalgic. I mean, I still love film, but in a way that I can't shoot for professional anymore because it's just too costly for me, even though I have a lot of film cameras lying around. But if I have to take the same photographs or the same quantity of photograph for my clients, it would cost me more than buying a medium format digital cameras. I can guarantee that. So, like, I'm not intending to do that. So whatever I use nowadays and is purely sufficient, and for what I do as a business, even for personal reasons, is more than enough. Because all I want is capturing images, and so that's basically it. So let me know what you think about what I just said, and let's bring some of your comments out and let's have a discussion about it. Yep, cool. So thank you for listening to my ranting about photography and people spending money. I shouldn't actually stop you from spending money. So if you have 10 grand to spend on a medium format camera, please do, and let me know how it gets on, because I would like to play with your camera one day, so I don't have to spend it. Okay, let's go up a little bit, as I see a lot of you guys have been quite enthusiastic about everything. So let me just say a few words here. Okay, first of all, a few new people that I haven't actually seen before. Hello, Alex from Ukraine. Right, hopefully some of you guys are still here, because I'm just scrolling back up and just to see all these names here. Mark from Cotswold. Ooh, Cotswold. I love Cotswold. I've been there so many times. It's such a lovely, beautiful place. And you know what I always want to do in Cotswold is to fly the drone there in early morning. It's nice. It's nice. But I never got to do it. It's such a beautiful place. Right. Okay, let everybody see that my audios finally came back after that test. Okay, that's fine. So, Miroslav, this reminds me that I have the EM5 Mark III. Is there a way how to plug the headphone into the HDMI? Oh, you talk about the audio stuff. No, you will have to use a unit that allows you to do that, and so it's kind of chicken and egg in a way. I mean, there are things you can do, such as the Rode Wireless Go or the Holyland that I'm using. The receiver on the top you can connect to other mics. It's kind of like a medium format. The middleman in the middle. So like you can have it has a headphone jack, so you can actually plug in a headphone and monitor it if you really want to. So you can do it, but you have to get another unit to monitor the audio if that answers your question. So let's see now. Oh, hello, Susanna. How are you? Good to see you here. Marsha, you found a good deal for the 40-150 2.8 Pro with the MC14. and which is good. I haven't used map camera before, so I think you better Google the rating, online rating, to see whether they're reliable or not, and hopefully they are. But usually, I would say that most Japanese sellers are very efficient, very good. So very unlikely you're going to encounter any problems from Japan. And so because I saw some of your earlier comment, you actually mentioned that the lens that you found was actually from a Japan dealer, so it should be okay. So Sean from Switzerland. Hello, Sean. Sean Mark Rap. Okay. Randy. I keep a spreadsheet of all photography stuff, including digital film, printer, about 31K in 12 years. Oh my god. You keep track of it. Amazing. I haven't keep track of everything that I spend, but I know that I spend a lot of money in it, and which is kind of crazy when I look back. And like I said, I want to use this opportunity to share my experience, right? That I did overspend a lot of stuff that I didn't really need, and more so after becoming a professional. When you become professional, you start looking after your wallet quite a bit more than when you're an amateur. Because when I was an amateur, and I was still working as a consultant, so I got income coming in, and I'm not relying my photography to make me money, right? So I got money, I got spare cash, I just splash out, just get whatever I want. But when you're starting to use your tool to make money, and then you starting to realize that, yeah, I probably don't need that sort of thing, and that would do. I can still create the same images, so I don't need that stuff there. So it's very, very different when you become a guy who actually use a camera to make money. It's a very, very different thing altogether. And but 31K in 12 years, that's quite amazing. Barsha, yes, it's always expensive. I won't be purchasing the 7,500 lens anytime soon. You must be referring to my dream lens, the 150 to 400 4.5 Pro. Oh, that lens is still my dream, and I'm telling you, when the pandemic's over, and when my job's coming back in, and I start earning my normal income, that lens will be mine. I know that I just told you not to spend money, but look, that money is gonna make my dream come true. That lens is gonna make me wet myself in bed. No, it came out wrong. Anyway, yes, that lens is magnificent, and I want that lens. Full stop. I just want that lens, and regardless what it is. Okay, Eugene, and MFT is cheap compared to full frame. Even the Olympus Pro lenses are bargains compared to top RF and GM glass. Spot on. Very well done. I think so. And I know there are differences characteristics-wise, aesthetic-wise, because they are full frame, right? They are different. Okay, I'm never trying to compare full frame and micro four thirds because they are different things. And but in the world of photography, they are just different formats. I don't think one is better than the other. Okay, there may be technical advantages of using different system or different formats, but there isn't a difference when it comes to image capturing. Like if you're a photographer, you can use anything to capture a scene. You can use anything to capture anything. Yes, there is technical differences in terms of the outcome, yeah. But like I said, really trying to see that where you want your output to go, whether it's going to be on the screen, on the computer, whether it's going to be on Instagram, whether it's going to be on website. If these are the stuff that you do, and apart from satisfying your own personal desire, I don't see any reasons of getting a more expensive lens or more expensive cameras to do what I just told you, to post on Instagram, and stuff like that. Yes, it will get you something, like shallow depth of field, things like that. But like I said many times already, yes, micro four thirds maybe have a deeper depth of field by default because of the different format, because it's cropped. But you can achieve similar thing by adjusting yourself as a photographer between yourself and the model or the subject and the background. You can adjust those distance and make it work at the same time. So there is no difference there in my eyes. I can create similar sort of look and feel if I really want to. And it's all about adjustability as a photographer. In the old days, if you look at all the photographers, you speak to all the pro photographers, all the olden time photographers, they will tell you exactly what I just said to you. Using a big, massive, large format film cameras is very different to what you call the full frame these days, you know, and because full frame or 135 back in the 60s, they almost like micro four thirds that we know today. They are the smallest format you can get in films, you know, and I know later on they have 110 and stuff like that, but 135 was small, you know, compared to large format cameras, and this is exactly the same thing that what we are talking about nowadays. And oh yeah, full frame is bigger than micro four thirds, but look, 135 or the full frame was the smallest format in the photography world, just because technology has advanced itself so much that the negative has finally caught up to the resolution that they need for a smaller format to work. And but I don't see any technical disadvantage about the resolutions in micro four thirds cameras. 20 is plenty for most people in the world of photography. And obviously, you know, technical advantages, you know, if you have a bigger or high megapixel cameras, you can do other things such as larger prints, for instance, and maybe cropped, you know, and without losing too much details. But these are things that you have to evaluate whether how much you do your crops and how big you're going to print. So if you don't involve any of this stuff, and I don't see the reason why you need to go for those numbers at the end of the day, because again, you'll be spending more money than you necessary. You might as well spend those extra money and do something else, such as travel. Maybe it's in the pandemic thing. I keep thinking about travel. Sorry about that. But it's true, and I like traveling. I'd rather spend those money to go around the world and start seeing different people and start photographing, creating different content from different locations, than actually getting a nicest lens I could afford, empty my bank just to get that lens, and then I won't be able to use it to capture anything that I want. Okay, and Neo. The better way to improve is to start with an old low spec gear, get more experience and maximize your skills, and that is very true as well. Remember what I said about you know, a starter being a beginner photographer. If you don't know much about photography, you know, you probably wouldn't understand exposure triangle, you probably wouldn't understand motion blur, you probably wouldn't understand a lot of stuff in photography. And in that case, getting a better camera with all these technical jargons, these features, will not benefit you. It may even confuse you. And if you just went straight to the top model, the tendency is that you're going to get the next best model in 2 years' time, and then so forth. The cycle is going to keep going. But the thing is, you're never going to improve because you just keep confusing yourself, because these cameras are very technical. When you go to the top end cameras, they are quite technical, and only those people who can exploit those features can make use of them, and most people don't. I mean, look, I have all these pro cameras here, and my sole purpose is to capture my subjects in you know, whether it's going to be models or weddings or whatever, and but I don't use a lot of stuff the camera actually offer me. Even in my level, I don't use focus stacking because I don't need it. I don't shoot macro, and I rarely use pro capture, you know, and only occasionally I do. I don't use Starry Sky AF. Occasionally I'll do as a kind of hobby thing, but then I don't do professionally because I don't shoot. I don't sell any astrophotography stuff online. So yeah, it's these cameras are so feature packed that, you know, most photographers don't even know half of it or use half of it. So they are very good cameras. All the cameras are. I'm not just talking about Olympus now. I'm talking about all the cameras nowadays. If you go for the top models, there are just way too much stuff that you don't need. So going very simple is the best way to learn about photography, and also giving you restrictions is also good as well. And that's why, like I mentioned about photography school, is that they ask you to get a simple Pentax K1000. Is that because it's simple? It kind of strip you away from all these distractions in photography, so you can focus on the philosophy and the theory behind the exposure triangles. You just focus on image making than anything else. So that is very true. You know, get the low end, low spec stuff, and is actually much better to improve your photography than actually getting a high spec stuff. Because, you know, like I said, you can get a Ferrari, you know, but you won't be able to drive like Schumacher. You know, it's the same thing, and it's not everybody can be a racing driver. And so if you get those stuff, I know it's an object of desire, and like I said, if you can afford it, go ahead, do it. You know, I'm not stopping you, because that will make you happy. As long as it makes you happy, that's the most important thing. But for most people, you know, don't stretch your wallet to get a Ferrari if you can't drive like one. You know, and so it's very true in that sense until you have that skill, and then you can upgrade, right? And when you have that skill, you understand how to operate the camera to its full, and then that will be the time when you upgrade your camera. And also, YouTube is misleading, pushing to buy the latest iteration of the camera where the old ones are already capable, and most people only use 10 to 20. Exactly what I just said. Yeah, it is very true, because look, a lot of YouTubers, they would be associating with other brands, and obviously they were given a lot of the marketing material that they have to follow, and there are certain features and why they're special and things like that. They usually just kind of read out the script, most of them. I mean, I get the marketing material from Olympus whenever there's a new camera, and but you can see from a lot of my videos, when I review something, and I usually give you a live experience and what I use it for and how I feel about the camera than anything else. I rarely referring to the technical spec stuff, and because I as a photographer who makes money from the tool, I more care about whether I can capture better photographs or not. In most cases they don't, because they perform the same, and but I would talk about handling a lot more, maybe the usability, so a lot of features, where the button layout is and things like that. So I more care about those stuff, because I use my camera, so I need to make sure that all these little buttons and things like that are in the right places on my hand. But yeah, it is quite true that a lot of the influencers nowadays, whenever a new product come out, they would just rave about everything, how good it is. Any good example is like Sony A7 series, right? Whenever there's a new alpha camera come out, they say, "Oh wow, this is the best in the world, it's the latest and the greatest." Yeah, but those people who use literally the last generation, which is like a year old and 18 months old, are they become obsolete because the new one come out? No, not at all. Those things are still as capable as ever. Those cameras, when they first came out 18 months ago, they were the best camera in the world. So 18 months later, they are not the best in the world, but are they crap? Not necessarily. Definitely not. Definitely not. And okay, Stephen, how are you? And you are rocking this Zoki 4K Russian rangefinder. I remember the Zoki cameras. I had a couple, but unfortunately, those two Zoki that I have actually broke down on me, and actually, to be honest, they were so cheap that I couldn't be bothered fixing it. But they were mechanical rangefinders. They are kind of like the cheaper version of Leica 3C and 3F, and I kind of love them. They're quite hard to see though, because the viewfinder is so small. Let's see. Stephen also loved this OM2N and the OM1. Oh, OM1 is a classic. But you know what my favorite OM camera is? My favorite OM camera is the OM3. I love the OM3. Fully mechanical, gorgeous camera, a more refined version of the OM1. And it's quite hard to get. It's more expensive as well, the OM3 cameras. And I wish I lived in Japan, because Japan had loads of OM3, and I just want to go there. I want to go there, grab myself a mint condition OM3 camera. That would be cool. Because in the UK, I haven't seen many OM3 lying around, and when they do come up, they're very expensive. John Paul asked me what was my first digital camera. Oh, interesting. I don't know. I think I dug that up the other day. It's somewhere in my shelf there. It's my first digital camera was the Fujifilm FinePix 10, something like that. Very first one, the vertical digital camera, 3 megapixels. I was just playing around with it, and that thing cost me £700. I was working, and I had money, but £700 for a point and shoot crap 3 megapixel camera that has a dynamic range of 2 stops, dynamic range, either blown out or see nothing. There's nothing in between. But it's a cool camera. I like the design of it. But anyway, that was my first go at digital photography. It's complete failure, and I kind of stopped buying digital camera for quite a while, because after that scary moment, I see the camera. Every time I take a picture, it's never correctly exposed. And no, I gave up. And the file was horrible as well. The file was very, very flat, and there's a lot of blown out highlights, and yeah, it just is not the very good first time digital experience, and so a lot of people who just got into digital photography is that you guys are lucky, you haven't seen the early days of digital. They're really horrible. And coming from someone who shoot a lot of photos and in the film days, you will find that some of these really first generation digital cameras, they're just insane, you know. And but look, I'm not talking about the professional digital camera, the first gen one, and they are a little bit better, but still horrible. But compared to today's standard, but consumer digital cameras, the first generations were absolutely waste of money, and you know, I paid that money just to experience it. But like I said, I didn't use that camera after literally the first couple of days. I got excited about it because this is the first time I see digital, right? You know, imagine the time when you first hold a digital camera, you see the images as soon as you click the shutter button, you see it from the back of the screen. Even though that there was a huge delay back then, the first generation camera, once you click the photo, you need to wait about 5 seconds before the image actually appear in the back screen. And I saw that, I said, whoa, you can see instantly. Is that excitement? And that instantaneous result, which is kind of what excites me the most. I remember that, if you remember these film people, and like I said, you know, you have to develop the film. You have to wait a week, a few days to get the film back, and you know, having see things instantly coming up on the screen, regardless of like 5 minutes or 5 seconds, yeah, it still excites you, right? It's the instantaneous results. So I was quite cool, you know, but load up on the computer. And also remember those days where computers are also very low spec as well compared to what we are using today. The screen were horrible. The laptop screen back in those days were not as high resolution. They're only using the old active matrix, or even worse, passive matrix screen, LCD screen, nowhere near as bright or high as the resolution, the contrast level to see photograph properly on the computer. So like, it was really a waste of time, to be honest. Let's put it that way. Digital photography in the very early days was just waste of time. And so you guys are lucky these days when you see all this digital stuff, and because you don't see what a lot of the older people, let's say the older people have went through when we bought our original digital cameras, and they were really a lot of bullshit. Okay. Eugene is saying that yes, it was expensive by doing back in the film days. Oh yes, film days when you have to you know, practice. Films are, like I said, expensive, right? You know, I ended up spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on practicing photography when I was starting to learn about photography. Messed up films, incorrect film speed, you know, a lot of stuff, and it is expensive experiment. So it was a it was a process that I went through, but in hindsight, I should have actually went to maybe a workshop or something, let people actually guide me through the process. That would save me so much more money and time. Like I said, I was a self-taught photographer, so I taught everything, you know, through practice, you know, and through the years. But yeah, in the early days when I look at all this film stuff, of course, it spent me enough money. I could easily buy another 2 or 3 cameras just from the amount of films that I burned through the years. And hello, Yudan. And secondhand Olympus camera and kit lens is really cheap. It is. So like I said, if you want to start photography, look at some older cameras. You know, they are as capable, like I said earlier. But look for anything from 2015, I would say, you know, because they do generally give you a better aesthetic, better color reproductions and dynamic range and all the kind of technical stuff. They are better from 2015 onwards. Let's see here. Jean, photography can be expensive, especially when you are listening to Jimmy's advice about billing and bags. Good one. I do have too many billing and bags. My wife just told me that I should sell some bags. I do have a lot, and I'm getting more bags, and but I got bags for review, so I do have a lot of Manfrotto bags now, and Jitsu bags, which I am going to do videos on. So you have to stay tuned for that. But I think it's good to show you guys more carrying solutions and more than just billing them, and so you can appreciate different kind of carrying options out there. I know that I love Billingham. I rave about Billingham's because I like using their products, but obviously there are other alternatives out there that you can utilize depending on what sort of thing you want to do with your photography, for instance. Which I tell you in a separate videos. Otherwise, I will be hocking up here talking about Billingham's. You know, I love my Billingham's. Yeah? I could talk about Billingham's for like 10 hours. Okay, and Randy's going. No, off I go into the wild blue. Right, have fun, Randy. I know you got gorgeous sunshine there, so make the most of it. So Sithy Bear, I'm waiting for the OMD E1 Mark II to be a bit cheaper used, but current rocking the G85. G85 is good camera, but the E1 Mark II is significantly better camera, and I think it's coming down quite all right now, but I think the reason why it's holding the price quite well is because it's still a current camera, because Olympus still sell them new. But that shows just how good it is, the camera, even though that it's already been 4 years old. And but I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, I still use my E1 Mark II for filming, and is as capable as the latest generation cameras. Yes, AF may be a little bit slower in terms of CAF and stuff like that, in terms of accuracy. But other than that, unless you really push the camera to the maximum, you won't notice the difference there. Like I said, because I shoot in different environment than you, and I notice these little things a bit more because I use it constantly on the cameras. But the E1 Mark II is really, I think, Olympus, in the Olympus Micro Four Third realm, the E1 Mark II is an icon. It's a pinnacle camera that changed a lot of stuff. So yeah, if you do manage to get it, enjoy it. You won't regret it. The E1 Mark II is good. Mind your own business. Back in the film days, I like your username. Back in the film days, there were more budget brands like Chinon, Cosina, and Ricoh. Ricoh was never really that cheap though. You know, I know in the SLR days, the SLRs are quite cheap, but somehow they turned themselves into like a premium compact camera company. Like the GR1 series, you know, the GR1 Ricohs, they are freaking expensive. You know, even used market these days, they're commanding like £300-400 a used body. And even the digital, yeah, the GRD series, yeah, they're still like £700-800 for a point and shoot APS-C size cameras. And I think they're expensive, but yeah, Chinon and Cosina, they're quite cheap. Let's give them that. But yeah, you're quite right. But I think that the budget market doesn't exist anymore, and because you have these, you have smartphone now. You know, if people are really thinking that they don't necessarily need those things or features and things, that they can just snap it with their phones because it's all they have. You know, and but yeah, I would like to see some budget lenses. But I think there are some budget camera companies, but they're mostly in China, so you don't see them in the Western world, and they're quite cheap. And you saw Rob Track, you know, I don't know if Rob here, but Rob reviewed one of the Chinese Micro Four Third lenses, which he hated, and said they do exist in China. And also, I think saw Kai review some of the Chinese Micro Four Third cameras before, and he absolutely, you know, he was a bit shocked about the performance of it because how bad it was. But having said that, you know, that was a few years ago now, and a lot of stuff that I use these days, Laowa, for instance, Laowa lenses are magnificent, they're cool, you know, they have improved a lot since, and a lot of the equipment that I actually have are also from China as well. They're really growing, you know, in especially in the camera and filmmaking world. A lot of equipments are actually very good, if not as good as all the other big boys out there. Right, my first camera post uni was a Cosina SLR upgraded from Zenith. Ooh, I also have the Zenith, and great to have some auto after menu only. Yep, but Zenith is a cool camera as well. Dirt is cheap, but it's functional camera. I have a few Zenith. I have 4 Zenith cameras still functioning in my cabinet, and it's got some vintage feel to it. It's got like this very old Soviet Union camera. They was like built like a tank, and then it's very square. There's absolutely no ergonomic that you can speak of, and the shutter is very clanky and very loud, but it does the job. It takes photograph. Remember, image capturing machine. You know, it's all we need, right? So if you people like really struggling, you know, when they first started, get a Zenith. You know, it really is dirt cheap. Okay, I'm gonna just go here. I'm not a fan of the segmentation of products for camera these days. Segmentation. Interesting thought. Interesting thought. Very interesting thought. And hello, Gigi. Hello, Gigi Pagni. Paggy. And sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I'll call you Gigi because it's easy. Gigi. Okay. Today there are individuals that buy an electric fork. Nothing is expensive compared to those sort of standard. Yeah, people can buy anything these days. You know, they have all kinds of stuff, technologies, right? Especially ever since 3D printers available, people have been printing and inventing stuff all over the place. And I haven't owned one, I haven't tried one. It sounds actually quite a fun thing to do, using 3D printer. You know what? I tested a few lenses lately, and they are all prototype lenses. They actually 3D printed lenses. I'm not joking, yeah, but they have glass elements, but the actual barrel and everything else, even the lens cap, were all 3D printed. Yeah, you can see that how easy it is nowadays, you know, compared to the old days. The old days you have to do the toolings, you know, to get the prototype shell, craft it from clay first, and to see the models and stuff like that. But these days they design everything on a computer and then hit the button, bing, and then like 10 minutes later you got a 3D shells come up, and then you can just use it as a prototype. So much easier and so much quicker these days. Pavel, my first camera was the EPL3 and the 14-42 and the 40-150, and I was so happy. Nothing better than having seen a happy face using an older camera, and because there's nothing wrong with older camera at all. And Dave Nelson, as long as your camera can faithfully give you the correct shutter speed, yeah, that's true, and f-stop, the lens is your biggest friend. No matter how good the camera is, if the lens sucks, your picture will suck. And that's true. That's also true to the extent that they're starting to appreciate what is a good lens first. So a lot of people, when they first started photography, you know, to be honest, if you look at a lot of the consumers, I'm not talking about amateurs, photographers, a lot of the normal people, you know, all they care about just having some holiday snaps, for instance. They really care less about this pro level performance, and it's very simple. Like my wife, for instance, just using her as an example, my wife would not know the differences between shot that I use a $2,000 lens or a $150 lens. No, she wouldn't tell the difference, because all she do, because it's, you know, she look at snapshots, so like she just basically flick through the albums, or you know, on the Instagram or Facebook, just swipe through it. She would never really study to that sort of level. So unless you can appreciate those quality, it's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a lower level lens, so to speak. But yeah, you're quite right there. Lens is everything, and if you're starting to appreciate better lens quality and what it can do for you, for instance, big aperture for lower light shooting and that kind of thing, then yes, lens is always the best body. Yeah, sorry, best buddy. You know, in photography, get a better lens always better than getting a better body. So good advice there, Dave. Victor, I would like to see a camera which are fully manual without any features like film camera, just with the digital back. I already saw some samples on sale of a single-use digital camera. Well, you know what? There is such a camera exists in the history, in the digital photography world. I don't know how many of you actually know Epson. Epson, the printer company who makes printer and scanners and stuff like that, they used to make cameras, and they make one in collaboration with Voigtlander or Cosina, because they own Voigtlander. It is a digital rangefinder called the RD1. RD1 is a cool full menu digital camera, and is literally what you said there, is actually a camera that has a digital back, and that's it, nothing else. You still have to cork the shutter. That's how good it is. You have to cork the shutter to take a photograph. So you can't do continuous. There's no silent shutter there. You have to cork it every single time. And it has full manual dials. You know, the aperture obviously is controlled on the lens. It's an M mount, so it's a Leica mount. And it's a really, really cool full manual digital camera. It's unfortunate that Epson never really continued that line, and it kind of stopped after RS1S or 113. I can't remember now. It's the same camera, but they have different variants of the same model. But it's a shame that it didn't carry through, because I think that is definitely one of the coolest cameras I've ever seen. And I love the RD1, and I hope that they continue making it. But no. So that was the last one, a one and only one. It's 6 megapixel. It's not a lot, but then by today's standard. But it's actually okay if you want to use it. Like I said, if you share your images through Instagram and things like that, there's nothing to stop you there. You know, that camera is still produced reasonably good results. Even though that you can't go past ISO 800. But other than that, it's as good as any other cameras. But it's fun. It's really fun. And then, let's see. Dong. Right, full frame cameras and lenses are getting into Micro Four Thirds size territory. It's really challenging for a Micro Four Thirds to get back. Dong, I would challenge you back a little bit. Yes, you are quite right there in terms of camera bodies. They are getting smaller. Yes, no doubt about it. But if you look at the actual design of it, and then also looking at what is capable of, I'm not talking about image quality. I know there's differences there, but looking at, let's say, IBIS, and also look at ruggedness and heat dissipation, these are a few things that the full frame cameras are struggling. Yes, they are squeezing everything smaller. They are making it as compact as possible. But look, all those bloody cameras are overheating. They are overheating, you know, and they, especially in video terms, they're not so much of photography, but videos, they overheat because there's not much space for it to breathe. You know, you look at those sort of dedicated video cameras and the full frame cameras, they will have a fan, they have a vent on either side of the camera to blow out hot air. But those cameras are bigger, much thicker, because they need those heat dissipation. Micro Four Thirds don't need that yet. You know, unless I don't know what the next gen is going to be, where they're going to be shooting a much higher frame rate and things like that in video terms. But full frame cameras has the technical limits there. They may be able to squeeze everything into smaller body, but they don't perform as well as a bigger one, because having a bigger body has many advantages. And then not only for ruggedness, because you have the cushions there for impacts and something like that, and it's already mentioned by heat, and the heat is definitely one major factor there. And also IBIS. IBIS is incredibly difficult thing to achieve with such a small space. Full frame sensor can rotate and do the 5-axis stuff like the Olympus does, but because there isn't any space for it, so even though that the camera manufacturer tell you that it's 6.5 stop on the IBIS on the full frame camera, they can never perform the 6.5 stop in the Micro Four Thirds. No way, definitely no way. If you look at a lot of the video footage that you see online, they say, I don't have a full frame digital camera to test these days, but then if I can do a side-by-side comparison, you can easily tell that the Micro Four Thirds is a lot better. Oh, hang on a second. I do know one channel does it. Matthew, in the mirrorless lesson, search for the channel, Mirrorless Lessons. He did a comparison with the, not full frame, but the XT4, I think it was XT4, Fujifilm APS-C. So it's a bigger format, slightly bigger than Micro Four Thirds. Has the almost equivalent numbers of f-stop of IBIS. But you see the side-by-side walking comparison, the Micro Four Thirds is still trumps it by by quite a big margin in terms of stabilization. So you need the space for that to rotate, to work out the compensations there. But because the compactness of the modern full frame camera bodies, there isn't any space there. So it's just impossible to achieve the similar sort of stabilization of what the Micro Four Thirds is. So it's easy to listen to specs. It's easy to listen to the marketing material. But when it comes to reality, in the real life usage, it will be a completely different story. So I'm not suggesting full frame cameras are shit. I'm not saying that. You know, they're cool. Like I said, they're different format. They have different usage, they're different goods and bads. But you can't argue just on the size alone. And that's another thing. lenses. Yes, you are saying lenses are getting smaller, but look, they are not 1.2 lenses. They are not f1.8 lenses. These are f4 lenses. That's f2.8 lenses, maybe f2 even. But they aren't as fast in terms of aperture size as the Micro Four Third. If you go to 1.2 lenses on the full frame mirrorless cameras, they are as huge as anything else, you know. And look at Canon's RF mount, you know, the 28 to 70, was it 28 to 70 f2 zoom lens? That thing is humongous. And then you have the 85 1.2L, 50 1.2L. Those are 1.2 kilogram each. You know, they are massive, heavy beast. For my 1.2 lenses, they are 450 gram. So like, it's a massive difference there. I know, again, you can probably say that, oh, these are full frame lenses, they got shallow depth, the equivalence of things. Okay, I don't want to argue about equivalence anymore, because these is kind of like a pointless debate there. I'm talking about light gathering capabilities. I'm not talking about shallow depth of field and things like that. I'm only talking about how much light you can hit the sensor at the end of the day. A 1.2 lens is always a 1.2 lens regardless in terms of light gathering capabilities. So if I need to shoot in low light, if I need to open up in 1.2, and this is what I need, you know, like I'm not always looking at 1.2 as a subject isolation feature. It's not that. It's actually a byproduct of it. But then full frame is always going to be a lot larger for what the light carrying capability is. So all the 1.2.095 lens is always going to be a lot bigger, a lot heavier compared to Micro Four Third equivalents. So I think a lot of people have misled or misunderstood the whole full frame thing nowadays, especially, you know, and what the full frame manufacturers are telling people about, you know, how great it is for all these smaller lenses are in terms of travel and things like that, because they are just basically trying to hit Micro Four Third as a travel alternative, you know, like so yeah, you can get the size if you want to travel. I have a bunch of smaller lenses, but they are slower lenses. They are worse lenses in terms of technical specs wise, because a lot of these slower lenses, they're not weather sealed, they're not metal built, and also they are definitely slower. So you have to bump up the ISO. Remember, you have to bump up the ISO. You can counter argue that full frame can have a higher ISO performance. Yeah, you might be true. You know, like you can shoot 6400 all day if you want to, but having an f8, f11 lens doesn't get you anywhere. I mean, I'd rather have a Micro Four Third that can shoot f4 than having an f11 lens, for instance. So call me old school. You know, I always look at the apertures as like this, and is the ability for me to shoot in different lighting conditions. That's kind of my needs, and in my view. But yep, you have certain arguments there, but I don't think that they can really challenge Micro Four Third for what they are. And I know people have different arguments and people may have different opinions about this, but that's my opinion. So I'm just reflecting what I believe in why I think Micro Four Third is still very relevant in 2021 and beyond, is for the simple fact that it's a portable system, and there's no doubt about it. If I want to get anything that I want to shoot my stuff that I need, you know, I would still have to go for 1.2 lenses. I'm not going to get 2.8 f2 lenses. I need to do 1.8, 1.2, 1.8 lenses, because that will allow me to do other things. And so if I need to do that, that means the size saving for these modern smaller lenses is not going to be relevant at all to me. You know, I'm still going to be getting these huge lenses that I still have to carry like 20 kilos a case of equipment to a location. So I don't want to do that at the moment. I'm quite happy with my backpack with only a few lenses in there, and everything, including the backpack, is less than 8 kilogram, and that's for location shoot with including tripods and gimbals, stuff like that. So if a full frame, easily 15, 20 kilo, because I've been there, you know. So I don't want to do that again. No, I'm not killing you. Don't worry, I'm not. But I'm just giving you my opinion there, so don't worry about it. I know, and I just think that people have definitely misled. That's a really rough word, misled, but kind of just blindly believing a lot of the marketing materials that the manufacturers given out these days. And but like I said, they have their job is to sell their cameras, right? You know, they have to make their cameras as attractive as possible. So you know, you can't really blame them in a way for doing that. You can't really blame people who believe in it either, because if they don't use the cameras like I do, or use the camera very, very often, it's very easy to believe what they said, and to believe that they are the best, or to believe that this is the fastest and this is the this and that. It's very easy. It's very, very easy. But I've been there for so long now. I've seen expensive camera. I used Leica, which is like 10 grand cameras, and I used medium format cameras before. I've seen all these stuff flying around in front of me, and ultimately you just have to know exactly what you need as a photographer. Like I said, whatever I do with the Micro Four Thirds now makes my money, and that really is more than enough for me, and especially for my business, like the reason that I just told you about financially, and so it makes me money, it makes me more money. I'm good. Eugene, what I love about Micro Four Thirds is that I can use all my favorite full frame and APS glass, as well as introducing me to these beautiful Ollie Pro lenses. Right. Let's see. Okay. As an art, whatever you can afford or want to spend is good enough. Wise words. Wise words. Very wise words. Okay. Someone talk about flashes. Right. Road. Downside exploring photography in Micro Four Thirds is the low amount of used flashes available. That's an interesting point, because I want to explore this point a little bit. How many of you use flashes, like speed lights and things like that? Right. The reason being is because flash photography is difficult. A lot of people who started photography, let's say 10 years ago, they aren't as good in flash photography as the people who started with film. Because in film, we have limited option or light that we can use, and we are fixed with film speed, right? We have, even if we have 1600 or 3200 film, but those aren't really great, right? They're very grainy, they're very coarse. If you want something that's clean, you always have to pump lights onto the scene, onto the subject, to get the crisp, nice shot. And so lighting was very, very important back in the days. But these days, we are kind of spoiled with the technical advances, with the sensitivity of the sensors, and also all these brilliant fast lenses, like 1.2, 0.95 lenses, you name it, all these things that are happening on the market right now. So more and more digital photographers are now using natural lights, because they're easy, because you see it, right? You see what you see is what you get, kind of thing, and so you open up the aperture, you see through the viewfinder, you set up the ISO, bump it up a little bit, shoot at 1.2, bang, you get the shot, nice and natural. And less and less people now want to learn the craft of using a flash, and because they are not an easy thing to understand, even though they are very easy to use these days. Like they have ETTR and so it's the not ETTR, keep saying ETTR, and but anyway, they have the metering system so advanced that it does almost all the calculation for you. But even though it's another thing, another layer in the process that they have to think about. And many new photographers just don't have that confidence of using flash, and because of that, not many people are buying flashes, unless they're pros. And like I said, pros don't replace the cameras, it replaces the equipment unless they need to. So the only thing a pro often replaces are camera bodies, lenses and flashes. These things, they do last. So that is why you don't see many on the used market, because first of all, not many people are buying them, and second, the people who buy them don't sell them because they use them. And so that is why there aren't many available. And I have my 900R speedlight for the Olympus system. I have two of them, and I even for me, I don't use them that much now, unless I want to create special effects in weddings. But other than that, I rarely use flashes these days. But having said that, it is true what I just said. That is why you don't see many used flashes available on the used market, for that simple reason. I know in Asia they may be slightly different because they do use flash a lot for their special effect. They do like to shoot in bright daylights and pump out field flash for the models and stuff like that. So you do see a lot more flash usage in the Asian worlds, but in the West, I rarely see people use flash at all. There are some in Americas. I think I'm starting to see the resurgence of flash photography, especially using high-speed sync, and which is actually cool. You know, you can, but these days you can use high-speed sync on Olympus as well if you have them. But yeah, it is something that can be a little bit tricky, I know, and also you don't see manufacturing updating these flashes very frequently as a result as well, because the sales really doesn't justify the investment for R&D for them, especially Olympus now. I don't think they're gonna release another flash gun for a while now, because the 900R and the last update, the 700R, were perfectly fine. They're really good flashes, and you don't really need another one maybe for another 5-6 years minimum. And also the sales of these flashes are very, very low, and unless you have specific need for it. Similar for all the other manufacturers, you haven't seen a new flash from Canon or Nikon. Canon actually released some couple of years ago, last year, but Nikon hasn't released a new flash for a while. Pentax, forget it. I don't even think that they're ever going to be bothered releasing a flash. So now, if you want to get flashes, you probably have to go down the route of using third party now, like Godox and all the other, like Hanel. I can't remember the name of it now. There are lots of other third-party stuff that are pretty good, and they're compatible with Olympus cameras as well. So if you want to go down that route, you can get them relatively cheap as well. So yeah, that could be the alternative. The place to throw your money around is lenses. Yeah, that's what we just talked about enough. Peter, Peter is in the house. I think I saw you earlier. Yes, hello, Peter. For those who don't know, Peter and I have a exclusive Clubhouse talk every Sunday. Yes, and so you have to follow me on my Twitter and Facebook. If you don't have my Facebook, is basically you can just Google me, Jimmy Cheng 23. That's my Facebook username. I will actually post it there for the announcement on every week's Clubhouse chat. So I have a chat room there, and every Sunday, so Peter and I will be hosting it. So if you guys want to join us for some fun discussion and anything about photography, please feel free to join us. But Clubhouse is still in early days. It's the invite only thing, so it's still not as crowded as any other platforms that we've been using. But we're there. We're on Clubhouse. So if you want to search for us, my username is just me, Jimmy Cheng. So it's very easy to find, and same as Peter Forscott, and his username is there. Just follow us there, and put on a notification. So when we host the room, you can pop in and say hi to us. Okay, continue that. Taking a pinhole photography, for example, is beautiful and low cost. Who has tried pinhole camera? They are fantastic and really fun, but only if you can develop your own film. And that is really, really cool. Marcus, right, the best way to prevent gas attack, I like the word gas attacks. Always remember that in photography is all about the anchor, never the bow and arrow. Wise words. Very, very, very good word there. Okay, and we went. I have £353.25 EM5 Mark II 330. What? Are you selling them? And I choose A7. I would get only body. There you go. He's comparing what he can get with his money, basically. Understand that? Fantastic. Okay, and okay. Hi from Malaysia. Hello, Dang from Malaysia. How are you? Welcome you to Red 35. Okay. I saw that Ronin has a new unit out now, and it has two receivers like the Holyland, Rode, not Ronin, Rode, yeah. And yes, you might want to compare it in the future. If it gives you enough traffic. Good good question. It didn't give me enough traffic last time when I do anything audio related. People seem to think that audio is not as important, but we always say that audio is very important, right? Like earlier, if you can't hear me, the stream will be rubbish. So at the moment, we fixed that up, the audio issues, and now it's nice and pumped, and so we can talk generally. So audio is actually very important, right? So even if you can't see my face clearly, you can still hear. So audio is always really, really important. But I like Rode stuff usually. I do like Rode Wireless Go, and now the Rode Wireless Go 2 is basically similar to the HoloLens that I'm using, and have two receivers, so you can do two at the same time. But I don't see any significant improvement in terms of audio quality compared to the Wireless Go first generation. Is this one only has 2 channels, so that's I think the main selling point is the 2 channels. But yeah, I probably would do a review on it, and we'll see how the differences are. But at the moment, I'm quite happy with the HoloLens. I think it's actually quite good for what it is. Especially, it has a USB charging case, and I love that thing. Okay, right, Dave. Map camera sold me 2 in TM12 cameras, and they were awesome to deal with. So someone already commented. Hopefully, Marsha, if you wanted to get your lens from Map. I think a couple of people already saying Map is actually very, very good. There you go. Map is very good. Rated second after Kitamura. And so that's good. That means they're a very respectable dealer. So yeah, there you go. So you should be buying with confidence. James Bond. Almost midnight in Brunei. GD, catch up later. Yep, catch up later. Stay safe, folks. Thank you, James, for joining us this afternoon, or evening in your case. Like most things in life, budgeting is a good thing. Absolutely right. I think, especially, I'm not sure about you guys, and obviously, I said it many times, not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but for those people who still got a job, you're very lucky through this pandemic, and especially in my case nowadays, I don't have many jobs as before because of what's happening around the world at the moment, and it means that budgeting is definitely a very good thing for me, and I have to budget everything, just be careful what I spend, even though I still run a business and I still want to keep my business running. I still have a lot of fixed expenses that I need to pay, like insurance and stuff like that, and I need professional insurance for my operation, and all this stuff costs a lot of money to buy, and I still have to maintain equipments and all the other stuff. Even though I don't use them, I still have to service them just to keep them in top working condition. And so these things are not many people actually understand or associate or actually register them as an expense because they don't have that worry. But yeah, budgeting is good. It's always good in life because whatever you do, budgeting is always good. Florian, hi there. And my most expensive lens was the 10-25 1.7. Gorgeous. It's worth every penny, but the investment hurts. Yeah, I know it's expensive. I don't own that lens, but I know it's a cool lens. It's just a bit too heavy for my liking, but it's a really awesome lens. But like I said about investment, right? And if you do use that lens a lot, that's okay, because you use it and you don't waste your money. The worst thing is that if you spend a lot of money for something that you don't need or you don't use, that's a waste of money. And in that case, you're better off using those money for something else altogether. So in your case, if you use that lens a lot constantly, and I don't see you why not, because 10-25 is a very good focal length, and 1.7 being a large aperture, you kind of combine a few primes together. So it's a very general purpose lens that I think many will appreciate. For me, I love that lens. I used it a couple of times only to try it out, and I didn't get it at the end of the day. First, because it's expensive, like you said. Second, I already have really nice 1.2 prime lenses, so I don't need another one fast lens in a way. And third, it's just too big and heavy for my liking, and especially if I mount it on gimbal, I don't have like The Rock's, Dwayne Johnson's bicep, so I can't hold gimbal with these heavy equipment on top of it. Even though I only use a micro four third, not full frame stuff, but still, if you mount all these heavy lenses and stuff like that, it's gonna be super heavy for me to handle for any length of time. So I'd rather use a smaller kit, smaller combinations of lenses and stuff like that, and it's just easy on my body, so I can be actually I can focus on creating stuff than worry about my aching arms and my back and stuff like that. Okay, Ivion Williams, beware that we are now being charged import duties on gear coming from Japan and China. If buying privately, putting the price up considerably. Are you talking about in the UK or something like that? It's always been the same. You know, we always have to pay duties regardless. Anyway, if you buy anything in the UK, and it just been masked because we may have come through Europe, for instance. We talk about Brexit now, and but they would be paid somehow in some other country. Yes, it may be more expensive simply because before Brexit, you know, like there are some countries in Europe that have lower import duties or VAT, and that means they can run through that route and kind of lower the price a little bit when they come back to UK through that routes there. And but they're always there. Yes, it will be slightly more expensive, but a lot of the bigger companies, for instance, they already importing through the official channel in the UK directly anyway. So there may be some equipment and some things that may be slightly more expensive, but in most cases, especially in cameras, you may not actually see that jump, and so don't worry about it, you know, and too much. And there's always a great import channel, and there's always something like that happening around the world. Okay, and I'm going through all these big comments there. Fantastic, like you guys. When full-frame users say something critical about me using Micro Four Third, I ask them why they don't move to medium format. Then they understand me better. I like how you're referring to it. Yeah. You know what? I've been laughed at weddings. I did. You know, and truly did. I think I told this story before. Let me just take off my earphone. I don't think I need it now. And I remember that at a couple of weddings, not just one, a couple of weddings, I was using my Micro Four Third as usual, and one of them actually said to the bride, not to me directly, told the bride, "Is that the guy you hire for your big day?" I said, "Yeah. What's wrong with it? Look at, he's using a toy camera. You know, like, look, the uncle using bigger cameras than he is." I said, "Yeah, so." You know, have you seen his portfolio? Have you seen his photos? You know, that's what I want to look at. So she defended me in a way because, you know, you don't know. I've never seen the uncle's photos, you know, and things like that. But you know, she knows them better than me. So she hired me because of she hired me for my vision, for my photograph, for my quality of output, not hire my camera. So like this is why I constantly getting battered by some of the people, like kind of saying that I use the smaller cameras and things like that, just not appear to be professional enough for in a professional environment. But who says you're not a professional? You know, like I said to you, the term professional, it means that you're making money from your craft, right? Making money from your tool. These are professionals. A professional tool, it means that it's a tool used by a professional, right? So I'm a professional. I use Micro Four Third, so the Micro Four Third would definitely be a professional tool. So I don't know why people think like that. You know, does it really size matter in that case? You know, is a weird way of thinking it. And yeah, that happened to me a few times, and I never get too bothered about this, to be honest. And ultimately, I just want to focus on my job and just focus on what I do best. You know, in that case, and just keep beautiful photos for my clients and to treasure for life. That's the most important thing for me. And I know people can talk behind my back and you know, say, oh, this guy's using the smaller cameras and things like that. I never really got bothered too much about that. Even before I switched to Olympus, I was using Leica. Leica was a rangefinder camera, so it's also quite small. So even that, I got laughed at. Using a Leica. But when I told them, then look, my camera costs 2 times as your camera there. You know, just the body alone. But anyway, that's a joke. And people. Mark, and my first SLR was a brand that I can't remember, Mark II or Mark III, 35mm film, and a friend lent it to me with several rolls of film, and we're moving across the country. My next camera was the Olympus E500. Right. Okay, ironically, Ro is saying that. Oh, I can't get the. Okay, ironically, you're making content and for thumbnails, for and very small screens, and you want full frame because of smaller depth of field, as the background will seem a lot sharper. Smaller. Uh, you can say that, but like I said again, you can create shallow depth of field photos on Micro Four Third. You just have to adjust to that format, like anybody else would. I could create shallow depth of field if I really want to, but just the way it is. But I understand your point. Which is kind of interesting point in a way. That's Stephen Long. Going back to basic, like using an old vintage manual lens on your camera can be quite refreshing. Indeed it is. And that's why in a way that I quite like Laowa lenses. You know, I don't know, have any of you seen my Laowa reviews? They are manual focus, manual aperture lenses. So yeah, you chuck it to your OMD, you suddenly turn your camera into an old-fashioned manual camera in a way. So it is quite refreshing to do something manual, just to get you a little bit more involved into the whole process of creation, rather than just point and shoot, which is what most of the digital cameras are these days, because they have face, eye detection, subject recognitions, and all these automations that kind of taking away that fun and that process. And so it is quite good sometimes just to step back a little bit, just to enjoy that image creation. You know, this is a really a fun things to do, and I love that process. And being, you know, trained as a film photographer, learned the craft in the old ways, in a lot of ways I do miss it. But at the same time, I can also say that in the professional world now, these automation is actually quite handy, because they do make my life a lot easier, and also quicker to capture what I need as well. Oh, I got the wrong message out, sorry. And Ro said it's a lot easier too. He's going to go fast in old MX-5 than it is go fast in a Ferrari. It is true too. And don't forget, remember I talked about choosing the right tool in the for the right job is also very critical. You know, it's actually my upcoming video coming on Sunday. Watch that, and it's about the very thing that I'm talking about now. So it's a lot easier to go fast in an old MX-5 than a Ferrari. It's a very good point here, because let's say if we're in a city, in a very dense city with narrow roads, how fast can you drive your Ferrari? If you've got a small city car, it can nimble around different little streets here and there and go through little gaps, and the Ferrari can't. Too many turns, too many. The street is too short for it to accelerate. You know, it's not the right car for that environment. So doesn't matter how expensive it is, how fast it is on paper, you can't use that power. It's not on a racetrack. You know, that's different, right? You know, it's the same thing as photography. You got to pick and choose the right tool for the right jobs. And for those people who want to do a lot of traveling, and also the physical ability, you know, if they don't have big forearm, you know, and things like that, the Micro Four Third could really be the solution. If you really want to enjoy photography, they are light, they're small, they can, you know, look at the EM5, you know, they're tiny. You can just hold on to it using a small bag, go onto a track, go into city, explore the city everywhere without having a sore shoulder and back at the end of the day. So why not? You know, I've been a full frame guy all my life until I switched over to Olympus. Every travel that I go to, at the end of that day, even though I was younger then, you know, I have a sore back because of the equipment I was carrying. You know, it may not sound a lot, 8 kilo, 6 kilo, doesn't sound a lot, right? But when you're holding that thing for 7-8 hours straight, walking everywhere in the city, yeah, you will feel it, I'm telling you, you know. But now my kids are easily a third of the weights that I was carrying back in the old full frame days. So like for that, I was able to walk further, do things longer, and still have a smile on my face at the end of the day. So why not? And I can still go traveling and sit down at dinner time, talking to my wife, be happy and talk about everything that we went through today, and rather than looking sad and exhausted. That's what I was before, I'm telling you. And let's go to the next one now. Wait, I thought Olympus was sold to a Japanese company. I don't know their history actually, sorry. It is sold to a Japanese JIP is the company. If you talk about the imaging department, yes, they are sold, and they now have a new name called OM Digital Solutions, and OM is obviously stand for the OM stuff. And it to me, what do you guys think about the name OM Digital Solution? To me, I find it quite hard to pronounce quick. Olympus is quick. Olympus, 3 syllables. Now it's OM Digital Solutions. Am I wrong? It's too many things. I can't pronounce it properly or fast enough. And or you can shorten it as OMDS. And that's what Peter referred it to, or many people referred it to, OMDS. But I still prefer the Olympus name, just easier for me to pronounce. And by the way, people think that I'm a native English speaker. No, I'm not. I'm from Hong Kong originally, so Cantonese is actually my mother tongue. And so I learned English when I started to study abroad. First I went to Canada, and I went to England to study university. So that's where I kind of practiced my English through the years. But yeah, my native speaking language is actually Cantonese, not English. So somehow, sometimes my tongue just can't roll quick enough to pronounce it. So OM Digital Solutions is still, it's a little bit of a tricky words for me to pronounce. And so Olympus is actually a lot easier. Okay, 131 Logan. Hi Logan, how are you? Someone likes the OM2N to be in digital form. I think those old-time OM digital cameras are just super cool, right? You know, I really do want to see that too, you know, and to have a digital version of it, that would be really awesome. And Stephen, not seen an OM3? Google it. OM3. Oh, yes. Especially the TI version, you know, the titanium version. Oh, that is yummy to the extreme. You know, I would love a titanium version of OM3. So next time if I have a chance to go to Japan, I'll go to Japan. I'll find a dealer who will sell me an OM3 Ti. That will be my dream come true, you know, because in the UK I saw them come up every now and then, but they're selling like what, £700-800. I'm not joking, £700-800 for an OMD, so OM3 Ti. And Japan is probably about the same money, but their condition in Japan is way more cleaner and less abused compared to what I found in the UK. But like I said, it's still very rare, and then you don't see them pop up online used very regularly. And Logan has an OM4. OM4 is cool as well. OM4 is basically OM3, but the auto version of it. And but I prefer manual. I prefer mechanical. You know, it's just the old school stuff, right? If I buy a film camera, I always like mechanical stuff. That's why I have the Leica M6. It's fully mechanical. I have the FM3, which is semi-auto. And but yeah, I like mechanical stuff. Dave, my first digital camera I ever saw was a Kodak. Kodak. Oh yeah, I remember Kodak. Karma has a good sense of humor. Oh, Peter was still in the house actually. The first Pro DSLR cost around 20,000. Yeah, it was expensive. Not many people could afford it though. And most people who bought those cameras, the first DSLR was the news agents, because they corporate, so they buy it as an expensive cameras as for their staff to use. But I know they were very expensive. I know a few journalists who used their cameras before. They're from some of the first generation Kodak DSLR anyway. They said it was horrible. It's big, bulky, and very unreliable. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit more. Oh, Marsha just ordered the 4050 with the 1.4 from Map. Very excited. Congratulations, Marsha. Enjoy the lens. 40 to 150 with the 1.4 is nice. I have the exact combo in my bag, and yeah, you won't regret it. The quality of that lens is amazing. And Marcus, usually is the wife that has back hack. You're referring to my comment earlier after I have so many Billingham bags. Yeah, I have too many bags, I must say. Yeah, you have a lot of bags. I have more camera bags than my wife has handbags. Peter has a lot of Peak Design bags, right? You like Peak Design. Yes, that's right. Peter is a Peak Design man. He has Peak Design tripod. He has Peak Design bags. You know, he's a big Peak Design fan. He should be the ambassador for Peak Design. Yeah. Okay, and let's bring up another comment up here. Stephen said, I think Ricoh own Pentax. Yes, they do. They do own Pentax. Which, strange enough, that neither of them has released any new things lately. So I haven't seen a new Ricoh or Pentax cameras in a while, unless I'm wrong. But I haven't actually seen many coming out. Which is quite sad because I do like Pentax. I mean, I still have one of the Pentax cameras in my cupboard. It's a limited edition K10D. It was an award-winning camera that that year they won the EIPS award for best cameras for that category. I bought their limited edition just because I fancy it. It has a different finish and it's got like really nice color, brown color. I had that still in my collection. It's a K10D. I love the ergonomic of Pentax cameras. Always feel chunky grips and things like that. It feels comfortable in the hand. And as a professional who use cameras a lot, I know what a good camera feels like. And the Pentax was definitely feeling quite good. It's a shame that it's just like anything else. You know, it's a shame that they haven't been doing too well lately. And actually for the last 10 years, I would say they haven't really been doing great. I wish they don't disappear, you know, and I would hate any camera companies to disappear, you know, especially growing up from the film era, and I see all these brands and things like that, and every time I hear a brand go under, it's not a good feeling, you know, and I miss those companies who went under before, just bad, especially like Minolta, now Sony, but Minolta was a big company, was one of the big three companies in Japan, and they became Sony that you know these days. In a way, they survived, but just different name. Stephen has an Olympus, has an Zenit EM Olympic edition. Still have it. Yeah. I'm surprised that Jimmy hasn't blown up with the gigantic gas factor he has. Yeah, you talk about that 150 to 400 Pro lens. I wish I could, but I'm budgeting my finance because, you know, this pandemic thing is I don't know how long it's gonna last, mate. You know, I know that we really talk about that we can come out of it by June or July this year, but you know, we're still waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. You know, and my business is not going to come back until everything is okay. You know, including the US and the rest of the world, until we can like travel safely internationally and frequently. I don't see my business model is going to recoup and return until then. So it's a bit of a shame. So hope that things would change in the near future. That's all I can say. In the meantime, I'm going to produce more content for you guys to watch. And how's that? You know, if you guys want to see me still, and we're gonna continue doing some videos for you. I will continue this live stream. This live stream is cool, so I'm gonna keep that for no matter what. It's fun. It's fun, definitely. Okay. Cupcake Bunny AG. I just got a used EPL8 quite inexpensively, so that I could use the Laowa 4mm fisheye without the grip. We talked about it. Was it last week or something? I can't remember. Maybe you, maybe someone else who talked about this exact problem about the Laowa 4mm fisheye lens, which I reviewed. It is too shallow. It's tiny. The lens is super tiny, but it's because it's so short. It sees everything, right? It's a fisheye. It's 180-degree viewing angle, so you see your finger if you hold your camera like that. So having an EPL8, which is a flat camera, which is a lot better in that case, and you won't see the grip or anything else. But EPL8 is a good camera. It's a really good camera. Trust me, the EPL8 is probably my favorite EPL camera of all time. I'm not joking, because it's the last camera that accept external EVF. You know why I say that though? Because I love the EVF4 that you can tilt 90 degree. I love to shoot at waist level, so like I can tilt up and can just look down on the viewfinder and take shots like that on the street. And that EPL8 allowed me to do that, and that's amazing. I love that thing. And but equally, Pen-F is different. Pen-F is more like a rangefinder style camera, so I mean, I can still shoot that way very professionally. And but EPL8, it really is that good. I love that camera. It's, like I said, it's probably the best EPL cameras ever for now, because EPL9, EPL10 is kind of the same thing. And they lose that capabilities of using external viewfinder, which I think they should have it. Maybe in the future, if Olympus or OM Digital Solutions decides to make another EPL to have that capability back to stuck another external EVF, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. Seriously, I will buy it, because I like the flippy EVF for 90 degree shooting. It's my favorite position. Holiday shooter do care about pro performance. That's why Olympus makes the 12 to 100 mm pro lenses. Yeah, I do agree. I do agree, but only certain amount of people do though. So it's still a relatively small portion of them. Don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about people who really do appreciate quality. But for a lot of mums and dads, for instance, and dads perhaps not, but a lot of mums, a lot of dads, a lot of just general travelers, that's why these people rather just shoot everything on the iPhone these days. I'm talking about these people. So for them, they would care less about where it comes from, whether it's going to be bigger lenses or more expensive pro lens. They don't really care about them. They can't really tell the difference. They will equally say that the iPhone produced best results. And there you go. So these are the people I'm talking about or referring to. And no offense though, they have their reasons. If they think that's good enough for them, that's good enough for them, and but for the trained eyes and for people who can appreciate the quality from a higher optics, of course, you've got to be happy with, or you want the better quality lenses for that matter. So that's what I was referring to. John, hello John. Does the wonderful Pen-F do focus stacking, or do you have to just get a JPEG? Are you talking about focus stacking in camera? For good question. I don't know, because I don't use focus stack. So that's probably a feature I never explored. So forgive me if I don't know that, even though I'm an Olympus ambassador, so I don't know everything technically. I don't know. And if anyone knows whether the Pen-F can do focus stacking, please reply John, and he's asking for that question. Oh, Peter knows about the RD. RD was a very good, I did test it. I had a chance to use it for one day. I actually want to get one myself, Peter. And like I said, if I go to Japan, I will get the RD one, and then and also the OM3 Ti. I think these are the two things I'll probably look for when I get to Japan. I'll probably get a couple of film cameras as well, because I know that they do exist in Japan and not exist in the international market. Collection. This is my gas attacks. Yes. You might be interested in the Pixie, the 3000 camera with no LCD, no card slot, APS-C, rangefinders that beams your shot directly to your phone. What about Alice? Have you guys heard about Alice? The new AI camera, and it's on Indiegogo now. If you guys haven't checked that out. I actually spoke to the CEO before, and we had a long discussion about his camera. And I think it's a very cool concept. It's definitely different camera, and if people want to learn more about it, you could go to Indiegogo and search for Alice, the name Alice, like a female name Alice, and it used micro four third, but more interestingly, it uses a 10 or 12, can't remember, 10 or 12 megapixel sensor, which means that it's tailored for low light shooting. And it's almost like the GH5S, the low light video cameras. So use that very similar sensors there for better low light performances. So it's an interesting camera. It uses AI to do all the focusing for you, which is very different to what you normally see in a digital camera. It doesn't use face detection, doesn't use contrast detect either. It's a completely different algorithm altogether. So it's interesting, but like I said, it's different. I haven't tested it myself because the prototype is not really available for testings. But I did speak to the guy. He likes very promising idea. So if you want to check that out and support this campaign, you're very easy. Just go to Indiegogo and search for Alice. Okay, and Jero, the lens size is still huge on full frame camera, even if the body is smaller than it used to be. Yes, that's exactly what I referred to earlier. That's fantastic. And I checked the prices for EM1 eBay, and the result blows my mind. At least not I expected. Yeah, you go. There you go, mate. RD1 is still very, very expensive. I'm telling you, because it's such a quirky camera, and it's such a purist camera as well. And I just love the fact that you have to cock the shutter every time you click, and it's just really like an old manual camera, film camera that has a digital back stuck to it, and it's really, really cool. And I love the analog dial at the top as well. Show you how many shots you got left, and the battery level is actually in physical dial that made by the watchmaker Seiko in Japan as well. So it's all this little quirky thing that I really love about that camera. I don't want to get it in the UK because every sample that I saw in the UK are usually battered and scratched up. So if I'm going to get one, I'll definitely get it from Japan because it got a mint condition one there. It's just lovely. And by the way, I mean, you remember I told you I shot Leica, so I do have a lot of Leica lenses lying around, so they will fit the RD one very, very well. So I am eager to get one. Peter already answered some of the IBIS questions there, and yeah, absolutely right. George Bacon, hello George, how are you? With ever increasing performance of ISO sensitivity, shouldn't camera manufacturers focus on f4 to control cost and sizes of the lenses? Well, good question, very good question. Yes and no, because there are people still need to use faster aperture lenses to do jobs. Well, don't forget that a lot of these 1.4, 1.2 lenses, they were actually targeting the pros. They're not targeting for consumers, although these days most consumers go for those lenses as well. And so in a sense, what you're saying that is correct. F4 lenses should be the focus because they can bring the size down, bring the cost down, and to get more people buying them. And you're quite right there. But the fact is, you do these lower cost lenses, the profit margin is also much thinner and lower. And I think people, especially the manufacturer, sees how people react to the higher end lenses these days. They see that if I produce a £2,000 lenses, these will be the subject of desire. You know, people want to get it. You know, and they will somehow source the fund. Although it's opposing what I just talked about, the whole entire stream, but they were trying to source the fund to buy these lenses, these expensive lenses. If they buy them, they make the money, and that's what the camera manufacturer wants. And if you produce a lot of these lower end, more budget lenses, that means that they will have to sell a bucket load to get the same profit as selling only a handful of these bigger lenses. So this is not what they want to do, and at the moment, and they don't see the point of it. It's a similar thing about point and shoot cameras in the old days, and you sell bucket loads of them. You know, your sales figure will go through the roof. But all these point and shoot digital cameras don't make enough money. You know, they're definitely not enough money to cover maybe only selling a handful of professional DSLRs. You know, and this is kind of in a way how they affect the company performances these days, because they're trying to juggle a lot of things, and there aren't enough consumer buying consumer level products now, but there are consumer buying professional equipment. But the thing is, you know, that's why they're all fighting for this pro market, even though these people are not pros, if that makes sense. And it's quite hard to satisfy, and it's becoming a vicious circle now. And how many expensive stuff can they generate? How many expensive equipment can they make people buy them? And that's why they get into this spec war. That's how I call it, the spec war. We're throwing bigger numbers now. That sounds cool. This one can do this thing and that thing. It's cool, you know, because that camera cannot do it, but only my camera can do it. it's spec war now, you know, and it's more than pixel war anymore. It's more than that. It's way beyond pixel wars. It's all about specs. It's difficult. It's difficult. Like I said, you know, like in the right hands, even a simple low end cameras can perform, you know, and you just need to give it to the right people to do the job. So that is it is hard, you know. I can totally agree with you about, you know, camera manufacturers should start to explore these lenses, similar to what Canon has done for the f11 lenses that they do for the big ultra zoom, not zoom, long tele lenses. So they bring the cost down and bring the size down, but it's f11, and so I don't know. You know, what do you think? What do you guys think? You know, you're about what the camera manufacturers are doing this, or what they should be looking into. And I think you're quite right there, George. You have your valid point there. But whether they're willing to do it is another thing. Canon may have made the start of making these f11 lenses, but I know they're selling okay, you know, if not, you know, over the expectation. But a lot of people are still not kind of appreciating that sort of design. I personally don't like to shoot an f11 lens because I won't be able to do anything useful for me, because I shoot in different lighting conditions a lot, and also that sort of lenses, I would rather have a brighter aperture to free shutter speed if I want to. I don't want to push the ISO for that, you know, and because f11 in lower light, you probably have to push it to like what 56,000 ISO to get anything decent for shutter speed wise, and I'd rather have an f4.5 lens constant, and yeah, pay more money, but it's photography, right? You do get what you pay for at the end of the day. That would be my take on it. And Richard Bones, thanks for all your review, thank you. And tech specs, which switched almost a year ago from Canon to an E1 Mark II, no regrets. So you are in the same boat as me, bro. You know, so I came from Canon as well. So, but thank you anyway. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting this channel as well. So thank you. And Dave, Jimmy is further behind his chat text box. Rob chat usually is. I thought that was impossible. I know I am. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit slow on that one, but I'm getting near the end now, so that's okay. Oh, Logan, so about the flashes now. Nikon SB27 flash works remotely with my EM1. Who else still used flashes? That was some of the earlier questions. If you really want to use other platforms flash, you can actually get a third-party system called the Cactus system. Cactus is actually remote trigger as well, use the radio, so you can actually do remote trigger, but you can actually use it as a mother or the receiver, but as a main unit to stuck on top of the camera and adapt other flashes onto the system quite easily. So Cactus is actually quite good. I used it before, and that's until I got my the Olympus speed lights. But before, I haven't got any Olympus speed light. I was using my Canon speed light on top of the Olympus, but I used the Cactus to translate the signals and things like that, and it works fine. So if you want to adapt other flashes, look out for Cactus, and Cactus are actually pretty awesome units, and you can do remote sync. If your flash support the high speed sync, it does support that as well. So yeah, look out for that. They're relatively affordable for what it is. Casper, I'm very dependent on using flash in macro and aquarium pictures. Yeah, for macro, flash is definitely important, because when you get close, sometimes that you don't have enough light, and flash does give you that pop and also detail that you need for macro photography. That's definitely for sure. I like my Godox flash. By the way, it's called Godox, not Godox, because it's actually the name of in Chinese is actually God, and Ox is actually the actual name of the company. So people actually pronounce it as Godox because it's quite easy. Yeah, Go, G-O, and the D-O-X is Dox, and but it's actually Godox, not Godox. And but Godox, I say Godox now. Godox is actually a pretty good camera flash manufacturing company. They do have a lot of different systems to suit your requirements, because it's actually cross compatible with other, not cross compatible, but you can buy the specific brand compatibilities. For instance, going to be Nikon, Fuji, or things like that. They have different systems there, but they are definitely a lot affordable compared to the original manufacturing flashes like speed lights from Olympus, Canon, and Nikon, because they could easily cost about what, £400-500 these days for a speed light, and Godox is easily half, if not a third of the price, easily. Shin, do you recommend iPhone 7 Plus as a great phone for photography? Oh, interesting, you asked. Right. I'm also an Apple fan, so I use a lot of iPhone as well, and I used to review iPhones, believe me or not. 7 Plus is okay. Is okay for photography. I wouldn't say it's great, because iPhone use a lot of computational stuff for exposures and blending high dynamic scenes. So the 7 Plus hasn't got the neural engines that the iPhone 10 onward has. So the 7 Plus, as good as it is nowhere near as good as the iPhone 10 onward. It's okay in general, but I would say that in good light and in good even scenes, but if you have a very high contrast scenes, for instance, you have a very bright sky, for instance, and very deep dark foreground, and the camera will struggle, so you can only expose one way or the other. And if you expose to the dark foreground, you'll find that those colors are a little bit washed out as well, so it's not very natural. So in that case, 7 Plus, I would say okay for normal snapshot, but if you're a very discerning photographer, you want the highest quality and higher the best color reproductions, you may have to invest from iPhone 10 onward to see a better results from iPhones. So hope that answer your questions. I know it could be a budget thing as well, because 7 Plus nowadays you can get it for relatively cheaply. But if you really want to get a photo phone and for photography, and you may want to see a slightly later model than the 7 Plus, yeah, that will be my advice. Hopefully that will help you out. Cool. It brings back my old days of reviewing iPhones. And hit the like button. That's what Master said. Yeah, hit the like button, please. Okay. Marcus, hello from Trinidad and Tobago. Oh wow, I love your channel and the work you do. Thank you very much. Hope you had fun as well. You know, my channel, especially live stream, you know, is all about fun. You know, it's all about us talk together. You know, like you see, everybody's communicating with each other. It's actually fun to watch actually, and I love it. And and by the way, you know, for those who didn't catch what I said earlier, I do have a Clubhouse. I'm already in there, so if you guys in Clubhouse for whatever reason, you can find me there, and my username is just me at Jimmy Cheng. It's very easy to find me there, and I do host talk. So I know that this live stream is a lot of I know we have a two-way communications here, but you type, I respond is in words, so it's actually a little bit different. But in Clubhouse, it's more like a word-to-word, like we're actually speaking, a bit like speaking on the phone. It's actually pretty fun. So if you guys are there, find me on Clubhouse, and I'm gonna start hosting some talks there as we speak. And Peter and I are actually having weekly Sunday talk as well. So yeah, you're very welcome to join us, and it's a fun environment to have a conversation there. Although the weekly Clubhouse thing is a bit shorter, you know, and we're going to do it for 45 minutes or to 1 hour. And so that will be the time that we both have together. So this is something that to keep in mind. But however, Clubhouse is a random thing. So I do start to intend to do a little bit more short room talks about photography and other matters that you may be interested. So join me there and find me there. Cool. And let's see, I'm nearly the end. Yay! Right. Also towards the time of my end of this stream today too. Okay, Leon, hi Jimmy. When you're getting the change to test and review the Ollie 150 to 400 Pro lens, maybe OM Digital Solutions is worried that you don't return it. Very true, very true. They probably will think that way, and I might actually get the lens and do a runner, so I'll be disappearing from the rest of the scenes, and that they won't be able to track me down. Very true. That's probably one of the worry that why they won't send me the bloody lens all this time. They think that I'm going to run away with it. Question: all people talking about dynamic range should be asking themselves how will they translate it to print. As far as I know, the printers today are not capable of printing more than 9 steps of dynamics. Yes, 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 yes. Very, very important and very, 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 very true. So, but at the same time, I don't see a lot of people printing. That's probably one of the reasons why they don't care. And but for those people who do print, like those stuff behind me here, yes, you're very right here. Printer don't see that much dynamic range at all, and even details. And depending on how big you print as well, you know, if you're only printing something like this behind me here, which is about A4 size, A3 size, having a 50 megapixel doesn't give you any extra at all, you know. And if you're talking about like 5-6 megapixel camera, if you want to print something like this, you're probably just about to do it, but anything bigger you struggle. But 20 that we have on Micro Four Thirty is enough to really a lot of applications that we do already. And it's because we are so tuned into the digital look on screen these days. That's why we worry about dynamic range, we worry about pixels and things like that. But if you do understand photography, understand all this technical stuff, you start to realize that unless you're a pixel peeper, unless you are a technical reviewer, a technical guy who appreciate all these numbers and stuff like that, you don't need all of this stuff. And in that case, you might as well save yourself a few bucks, having a lighter system, and go and enjoy photography. Yes, that's the word, right? Enjoy photography is the ultimate goal here. And but you can enjoy your gear for sure. You know, no problem. No one is stopping you enjoying your gear. But remember. So yeah, you're very, very right there. Very, very right. Thank you for bringing that up. Don't thank you, Uncle Jimmy. You call me uncle. Yes, I'm old. I know. Jan, hello. Hi. And Jimmy, Olympus should make a new 1.4 prime lineup for those of us who can't justify the price of the 1.2 Pro lenses and still got good shallow depth of field and sharpness. Lower build quality too. I guess so. Never say never. And obviously I can't speak on behalf of them or speculate anything. But in the meantime, if you do want the 1.4, Panasonic do have that 1.4 that I always love, the 25 Panasonic Samilux 1.25 1.4 aspherical. They got a version 2 now, which is actually weather seal, so that is a fantastic lens. I love that lens. But the reason I told you before, the reason I switched over to 1.2 Pro on the Olympus, because not just the aperture size, but also the rugged build and the fringing. The one problem I have with that lens is the fringing. But other than that, if you want 1.4, that thing is quite small as well. And I do hope that Olympus will make some. That would be quite cool. Yeah, no need to freeze-proof or indestructible. Perhaps my requirement is quite extreme. Eugene say that, let's face it, some people buy gear as bling bling. Status come from the gear they own rather than the images they produce. Each to their own. Well, yeah, like I said, as long as you're happy about whatever you do, that's the most important thing. You know, I know I talked about photography, enjoy photography, go and shoot and things like that, but there are people who just love buying stuff. You know, they love buying the latest and the greatest, and that makes them happy. Is really, you know, is we all human being, right? We all want to smile every day. If that makes you happy, go ahead. No one stops you. And but I'm more focused on photography for photographers, especially. I want to educate people more about the importance of photography on its own, and why it is important to understand your needs and your requirements more than what you want, because we all want something. You know, we all want something that's big, expensive. We want a lot of things, but you have to kind of strip everything down and kind of get back to the reality and exactly what you need in life. And for me, that's me. You know, like I can't represent everybody, of course, and you have all the rights to disagree what I said and anything like that. But yeah, it is true. You know, people do wear them as fashion accessory, especially some of the more exotic, more premium brands like Leica, for instance. A lot of the Leica photographers, they simply wear them as a jewelry, you know, because they're expensive. You know, I'm wearing a 10 grand combination here. The lens and the body is 10 grand. So it's 10 grand on my body, right? Look at this. Look at this. It's 10 grand. And yeah, well, you know, when I used to shoot Leica, for instance, I mean, yeah, they're expensive, but I shoot with Leica. I shoot it as a tool. My camera is brass, is very scuffed up already. So like, I don't take care of my camera in that sense because I'm professional. I use my camera, and but a lot of Leica users, they really like keeping the equipment really nice and pristine, and because it's a show off piece, right? It's expensive. Okay. Flyby Happiness. Hi all, I've been curious about Micro Four Thirds system and found out that there is a camera made by Kodak, Pixel S1, and with 3 to 4 lenses. Oh yes, the S1. Yes, of course. Has somebody from it? Oh, SB anything from it in their hands? Just curious about performance. The S1 is very old. It came out a few years ago now. It was, and unfortunately, they weren't really sold in the UK that much, and they might be in the market for a very short while, but they weren't competing with all the other camera companies, so they didn't really sell that many. And I did see them on eBay every now and then, and maybe I should get one just to test it out. They do have some Micro Four Thirds lenses, but unfortunately, no, I haven't got any experience in it, and I would be curious too. But I know it's CDAF is very kind of entry level performance, I would say. I wonder what sort of processor and also what sort of image sensor they actually use. I know it's a 16 megapixel camera, so it would be curious. I would be curious to find out. Yeah, good to remind me. Maybe I'll just go and look for one. George, is CAF in EM1 Mark III far superior to the EM1 Mark II with the latest firmware? Right, in photography or video, because it's two different things. I can tell you that for video, the CAF on EM1 Mark III is far superior than the EM1 Mark II. I tested on a lot of cases when I mounted the camera on the gimbal, for instance. If I need to track something, the EM1 Mark III is definitely a lot quicker in acquiring focus, and compared to EM1 Mark II, it will get there. It's still accurate, but in terms of speed of actually acquiring it, the EM1 Mark III is quicker, and so that also could translate into photography. But how much quicker? So far, this pandemic year, I haven't really shot anybody in stills in terms of moving subjects, so I really can't directly compare that from experience, because the EM1 Mark II is already good enough for me to do what I need to do for CAF in human subjects. But EM1 Mark III it should be quicker, because in videos I can see there's a huge difference there. But there you go. Don't get me wrong, the EM1 Mark II is fast enough, but if you want even faster performances, the EM1 Mark III, I believe it will be faster, both in stills and video. Already said video is faster, but I'm pretty sure that in still is also faster as well. Caught up, yes. Okay, last few questions before I wrap up. Marcus, say you have an Olympus 35 SP and a Spotmatic F. Do you, if you have to choose one more camera, would you pick OM1, Pen F half frame, or Canon P? Pen F. There you go. Okay, Vitus. My first SLR was the Miranda. Miranda. Yes, Saron Rex. I really missed it, and when it got stolen, Pentax Spotmatic replaced it. Right. Okay. Right. Interesting. Oh, Miranda. I never really used it though. I mean, I've seen them around. I've never really used it. I was a big kind of Olympus, or not Olympus. I was a big Canon boy during the film days, and then I got into Nikon a little bit. So I used Nikon, old Nikon film cameras, and Pentax. I love Pentax film cameras, and just haven't really got around to try everything. There's so many choices, right? Okay, and last few read out, and then I'll be wrapping up. Eugene, I stopped caring about megapixel after some 100 by 70 centimeter prints made up from an old Canon 7D. They were stunning, and I don't need better than that. There you go. You know your needs. If you think that that's enough, that's enough. And I always say that Micro Four Thirds is more than enough, but people always disagree, and that's up to them. People all very have their own reasons, and I do respect those reasons. Joe Edelman had his printed on billboard. Yes, they do. He does. I know Joe very well. Indeed. And did he actually say that? I don't know about that. Okay. Okay. Last one. Last one, and before I wrap up. Okay. Let's pick the latest comment here. Shooting with Vivita 35EE actually is such a good experience of the 24-year-old. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Right. For us Michael Fourth fans, the company name should be OMG. Wonderful. Okay, guys. Oh, Rob is in the house. Rob, we just talked about you earlier. And I confirmed that face detection photography is far superior, IBIS is superior, and low noise for log exposures like Astro and USB-C charging. There you go. Rob has answered the question. Very, very detailed. So thank you guys for joining me today, and I am, as usual, very happy to see all of you here. You can see me smiling every time I do a live stream. Seeing all of you guys communicating, it just makes me smile. You guys make my day. Fantastic. Great stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed today's stream, and also you might have noticed that I haven't produced any Tuesday videos for a while, simply because I haven't got the time to do it. The kids are still at home, lockdown still around, and but in 2 weeks' time, schools will be reopened in the UK. That means that they will be gone, and I will be able to do something during the day instead of working until 2-3 a.m. every single day, getting all my eye bags up. So that means that I should be able to get back to normal routine and producing more videos. But at present, I'm still adjusting all this rubbish that's going on at the moment. That's why I don't do Tuesday videos. I'm keeping my live on Wednesdays, and Sunday video will be up this Sunday, and so I'm trying to do as much as I can for all my videos. But as you know, that this lockdown had really thrown me off the course, and then it is quite damaging in a way for my routines and stuff like that. Even my health, I haven't been walking around enough to exercise, to be quite honest, and I put on a few pounds as well. As you can see, my face got rounder. That's not too good, you know. Like, I'm not talking about just my appearance, but health in general. So hopefully things will get back to normal for everyone, including the US, everywhere around the world. I just want this horrible pandemic COVID thing disappear, although not really technically disappearing, but we will live with it for whatever, for a foreseeable future. But I do hope that things will get back to normal, so everybody will be able to enjoy their life once again, outdoor, meeting friends, hugging each other. Photo walks. How about photo walk? How about, you know, you guys join me for photo walks in London or wherever I travel, and then we go out and do something fun all together. So that would be awesome, right? Great stuff. So thank you everybody for your presence here. Remember, I am on Clubhouse. If you guys are on Clubhouse, remember to join me there as well. And if you like this live stream, remember, do me this thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. This channel is all about photography, creative stuff, and filmmaking, and anything to do with the camera. And of course, I have a focus on Olympus Micro Four Thirds because that's what I use. And but I have a lot of experience in the photography field. So yeah, feel free to ask me anything. If you have any questions about any theories, any using cameras, how to improve your photography skills wise and things like that. I'm less so of a tips and tricks guy, and I know like Rob and Peter and Robin are much better in tips and tricks because they know already, they know the camera very well. And but in terms of capturing the moments and stuff like that. And yeah, please feel free to ask me. If you own up, send me some photos and let me ask my opinion. I'm very happy to do that as well. So my contacts all up here. If you can follow me on all the social media platforms. If you want to contact me, yes, that's the route to do. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys all soon. Before I go, I will show you my new video that if you guys missed that last week, I'm showing you once again. This is all done with an Olympus camera. See you all soon next time. Bye for now.